We are live Sunday night. Hope all of your summers are going well. A little bit of a scorcher in New Jersey in the past week or so for some of the days. And we are approaching the big day. Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining me on this summer Sunday eve as we all sit and wait some more until July 1st, where we hope once free agency begins and some other things I'm going to talk about in a couple moments can translate to your New Jersey Devils landing something impactful, I will say. While I am not expecting or I guess demanding to some extent a massive name like many of you are. And I get it. Listen, guys, I get it. It's been a painful road. A lot of you are clamoring for all of the big names being floated out there. And while some of them would be nice, or any of them really would be nice to get, there's a lot that goes behind it all. Freeing up cap space, moving out some dollars to free up room for new guys. And we wait and see. A few more days. Let me start off here before I get into my kind of scheduled what we have to talk about here. Blackatron, thank you for the super. The roster moves that we all discussed all season long have to happen. Anything less is a failure for your New Jersey Devils. I'd be curious, Blackatron, exactly what you're talking about. I think most of us have been on the same page for a lot of the year. You know, there's obviously people with different opinions and different kind of viewpoints of the whole thing. But in the end, last year's team was not good enough. Fitzy said the team was going to be different. We weren't bringing back the same team. There would be a new look to the New Jersey Devils for the 25-26 season. And obviously that new look started about a week or two ago when Eric Halla was dealt to the Nashville Predators in a classic salary dump move, freeing up, I think it was like 3.5 or 3.2, whatever it was, a little over $3 million of cap space, which unfortunately still leaves the Devils in a very precarious way in terms of available cap. Not a ton when you take into consideration what the Luke Hughes extension is going to be. But obviously, you know, an additional $3 million is nice to have. But again, I've said, you know, for a long time now, Luke is probably going to get around $9 million bucks. And hopefully he doesn't hold the organization hostage for any more, because you just saw, I think Noah Dobson got 9.5 when he was moved from the Islanders to the Canadiens in that deal on draft day. Yeah, he signed an 8-year deal, with a cap hit of 9.5. So, you know, if Luke is going for max dollar, I do believe there's a world where he could command 10.5. And while it would hurt the Devils, it wouldn't be ridiculous. It still could be a good deal for the Devils down the line. But I think what Blackatron's referring to is some of the, you know, the scrit, as someone coined. I keep forgetting who came up with that. But skilled grit, you need it. We saw what the Panthers have done for the past 3 years, going to the finals, back-to-back cup champs. A lot of us are just, you know, hoping and wishing that we will see some of these moves that make the team better. But what I will say is that I did not expect any big moves made prior to July 1. And as a lot of you know, that is because the overwhelming portion of this New Jersey Devils team have either no move or no trade clauses in their contract, where the team is kind of handcuffed. The team is kind of handcuffed in terms of dealing some of these guys out. But on July 1, that changes, my friends. Oh, that changes and makes it a little bit easier and gives Fitz, the New Jersey Devils, a little more flexibility. And what am I talking about? Well, first, we're going to bring up Andre Palat. He's the guy that everyone's kind of been looking at. $6 million bucks. And, you know, I like Palat. I really do. I do like Pally. But the reality is that $6 million could be better spent elsewhere for this group. And we take a look at the Andre Palat contract. 5 years, $30 million bucks. He signed it before the 22-23 season. But if you look at the bottom left corner there, no move clause, modified, no trade. And then you see the key words here: commencing July 1, 2025, a 10-team trade list, which means in a few days when free agency opens, Palat's contract goes from a no move clause to a modified no trade, where he has previously submitted a list of 10 teams that he would be willing to be traded to. Now, obviously, what that means is, if the Devils can get one of these 10 teams to make an offer for Andre Palat, we very well may see him dealt. But that cannot happen until that 10-team trade list modification to the contract kicks in on July 1, obviously coinciding with free agency. And that could definitely set the table and open the door for Pally's $6 million to be moved out. In addition to that, the other guy everyone's looking at, and again, I've given my viewpoints on Dougie Hamilton. I like Dougie Hamilton. I think he brings a lot to the team. I think it is somewhat unfortunate that everybody just looks at the $9 million and is like, trade Dougie. And while I understand why, I mean, listen, $9 million is a lot. And is it a bit of an overpayment? I would say certainly it is. I don't think it's a gross overpayment. It's probably a little bit of an overpayment, but that's what you need to do to get the big fish in free agency. And buckle up, guys, because like I've been saying for weeks now, in this new cap era, you are going to see some insane deals in free agency this summer. That numbers that are going to blow people's minds. And I think a lot of people kind of saw the first one. Former New Jersey Devil Kevin Ball just signed a deal for like $5.5 million or something. So, kind of circling back on defensemen, for everyone that has been criticizing the Kovacevic signing, I certainly wasn't one of them. I've said time and time again during the season, Kovacevic is a guy that I fell in love with very quickly. And I was openly discussing how I wanted him to be signed long-term back probably in October, if not October, early November. And when you see Kovacevic at a $4 million cap hit when Kevin Ball just signed for over $5 million, getting these guys locked up before the new cap era came around was a wise move by Fitz. It's unfortunate that Kovacevic got hurt. But when you look at some of these contracts, and especially Pesce's deal in this new cap era, I mean, Kevin Ball's making approximately the same amount as Pesce. I mean, wild stuff. Dougie Hamilton is what I was talking about. I kind of went on a tirade there. I do think Dougie will be sorely missed if and when he is gone. Again, I like Dougie. He brings the offense. Sometimes a good offense is your best defense, and when the puck is in the other team's end, it's not in your end. Puts a little bit of the pressure off of your defense, off of your goaltender. I like Dougie. He had a monster 22-23, and unfortunately has been kind of injury plagued a little bit. I do think that last season he may have been playing slightly banged up, recovering from that pec injury. Who knows if he had something else going on. We didn't see the laser beam slap shot, the Dougie bomb that we were so accustomed to seeing in that 22-23 season, that beautiful franchise record-setting 112-point season where we beat the New York Rangers in a glorious seven-game first-round playoff series. But Dougie had 22 goals and 52 assists for 74 points in that season. And, is that guy dead and gone? Perhaps he is, but perhaps he's not. Could a healthy Dougie or a healthier Dougie get closer to that player? I think he could. And so, the $9 million, I get it. A lot of people are kind of looking at him as the next guy. I personally would like to keep him, but I am not opposed to trading him if the deal makes sense, or if the kind of overall plan behind trading him makes sense. And I do think it would be most logical back when the Quinn rumors were heating up that he would certainly be included in any potential deal to Vancouver to get Quinn Hughes here. But if he's traded in a separate deal, I certainly hope there would be a plan to bring in another defenseman, because I think just assuming that Luke Hughes and Shimo Nemitz, etc., can just pick up the slack that Dougie would leave behind, I think is a fool's errand. I do think, handing those responsibilities over to kids is going to be a lot, and there will be a learning curve. And look no further than that 23-24 season when Dougie went down. We suffered tremendously. And so I do think Dougie's a valuable piece of the team. I don't think it's time to trade him yet. But like I said, if a deal materializes where it makes the team better, I would not be opposed to it. But I think this is definitely a proceed with caution situation. And similar to Pally, we look at the Dougie contract. He signed in that summer before the 21-22 season in free agency. Fitzy gave him the monster deal, 7 years, $63 million. And if you look back in that bottom left corner, just like with Pally, that no move, modified, no trade clause. Where am I looking here? Yeah, sorry. It's a whole long string here. Also, a 10-team trade list for him kicks in on July 1. And so you now look, when you have two guys like that on July 1 have a list of teams they would be willing to be traded to, you're talking about a potential $15 million in cap space between the two of them. And is Fitzy going to explore this? Now, very well, maybe nothing. There obviously has been a little bit of smoke out there in terms of, people speculating that this could be the play for Fitz, that, he couldn't do anything till July 1. We're going to find out. Do one or both of these players get moved? Is it part of a bigger plan? Are the Devils in on Robertson in Dallas? Or is all of this kind of a precursor to the big rumor that I do believe will happen sooner than later, or sooner or later, I should say, and that is the third Hughes brother? We look at Quinn Hughes' contract. If the Devils are, in fact, looking to trade for him and not wait the extra 2 years for him to reach free agency, I think it would be smart for the Canucks. It seems like at some point they're going to have to deal him for nothing. He is going to walk, so it seems. And we look at the cap hit for Quinn Hughes for 2 more seasons, 25-26 and 26-27, at a $7.85 million cap hit, which is an absolute criminal steal at the moment for the Canucks. Quinn, one of the best players in the league, at a cap hit under $8 million is tremendous, tremendous value. Now, obviously, when this contract is up, who knows what he's going to command. I'd have to imagine market value at that juncture in 2 more years. My God, it could be $15 million. It certainly will be minimum 13, and it could be, 15, 16. Who knows? As the cap continues to go up and more guys continue to sign these big tickets, the value for the truly elite is going to go through the roof, and that includes Connor McDavid as well. Wow, that's going to be an interesting saga to watch as well, the whole Connor McDavid thing. But there is a tremendous, tremendous value for this Devils group in getting Quinn Hughes 2 years sooner, and at this tremendous value of $7.85 million cap hit. And so I personally have talked about it before. If it was up to me, I do think there's more pressing needs than defense, but it seems like the writing is on the wall. The Devils at some point will get Quinn Hughes, I truly believe. And so if that is the route they're going to go, do it now. As you all know, I am 100% win now. The team on paper, when you look at this roster with the core we have in place, they're getting older. People were talking about how bright the future was for years and years. You guys know how I feel about that and all that stuff. And it's time to win now. Jacob Markstrom, when we got him, that is a win now goalie in the twilight of his career, coming down the back 9 there. A few more years left, maybe 1 year left. This season is the only year left on his deal. I do think the Devils will give him another year or two at some point. But the reality is he's a win now goalie. Nico has 2 seasons left on his deal. We don't really know what the future holds for him. Obviously, Jack Hughes, the injury concerns. Can he stay healthy? Will he stay healthy? That's something else to look at as well. But Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt all continue to age. And yeah, they're still young, but they're not rookies anymore. People like to talk about the core as if, they're babies. Nico's 28 years old right now, and he'll be turning 29 in the first week of the season. So you're talking about all next year. Timo Meier's going to be 29, rapidly approaching 30. And then you look at Bratter. Bratter is 26, and he'll be turning 27 later this summer. So now you have a Timo Meier for next season at 29. Jesper Bratt will be 27. And the captain, who has 2 years left on his deal with an uncertain future. A lot of people think it's a foregone conclusion he will re-sign here. I'm not in that camp. Nico will also be turning 27 in the middle of the season. And so when you take all these things into consideration, an aging core, there is no certainty how long we're going to have Nico Hischier, a win-now goalie in Markey. You have some veteran defensemen who aren't going to be around forever as well. Dylan, Pesci. When you look at the whole thing, this team 1,000% should be in win-now mode. And so if you're truly in win-now mode and Quinn Hughes is your ultimate play, go get him now. Now, there is a limitation to what I would pay for the 2 earlier seasons. And I think a lot of people would be shocked at what Vancouver would be able to command even for 2 years of Quinn Hughes, even from other teams knowing potentially that he could walk in free agency. I do think people's minds would be blown at what teams would offer up for 2 years of Quinn Hughes, especially at that insane cap hit of 7.85. But if you're the Devils, it's something you really have to look at if it's truly there on the table. Now, obviously, no one knows to what extent conversations have been or have not been happening between, the Devils and the Canucks, but I'd have to imagine there was at least some preliminary conversations. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, when those 10-team trade lists kick in for Palat and Hamilton on July 1, that maybe it could serve as the backdrop for Quinn Hughes coming to the Devils this summer. Maybe not. But if not, there's certainly some other guys out there, as many of you know, whose names have been floated around in trade. Obviously, Jason Robertson, I talked about that. I think he would be a nice fit for the Devils. I don't know that he would be the most ideal player, but I do think he would certainly help this team. I don't, how a guy like that would not. And so maybe we will try to facilitate one or both of those guys as cap dumps to free up space for guys in free agency. But again, guys who have term left on their deal, in my opinion, is the way to go. The free agency market is going to be crazy in the new cap climate. That is just the reality. The money just keeps going up. Guys are going to get insane deals. And so in my opinion, the best bet is to look for guys with some years left on their deal that are signed at good value contracts and make trades for them. That, to me, is the move, and I like Kyrou a lot. I really do. Kyrou has 6 more seasons at an $8.125 million cap hit. Would love to see him brought in. I don't know exactly what it would take to land him, but if he's... Oh, no. I don't know what happened here, guys. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, we have a little glitch there. Kyrou would be a guy I'd love to get. And as many people suspect, Dawson Mercer very well may be a piece going the other way. And I like Dawson Mercer. I've defended him against a lot of you who have complained about him over the years. I do think people may have just expected too much of him after he had that great season in 22-23. I think people just thought he was just going to consistently keep putting up those points or more. I mean, in that 22-23 season, 27 goals, 29 assists, 56 points. And we've seen some regression since. He had 20 and 13 for 33 and 23-24. And then last year he had 19 and 17 for 36. But, does he have that 30-goal potential still? I think he could. But if not, I think he's going to be close to a perennial 20-goal guy. Can he, if he stays in the Devils, can he be a contributor in the top 6? I think that's something we'd all like to see. We are 2 guys short of a true top 6, in my opinion. But maybe... a change of scenery and a chance to crack someone else's top 6 could do wonders for his career. I don't know. But he's a guy I'm not looking to give away either. And when you look at Dawson Mercer at $4 million, a guy you could throw out there in all scenarios, shorthanded, power play, late in the game, protecting leads, there is a certain value to a guy like that as well. And at $4 million, he certainly would be, with 2 more years left on his deal, he would be a valuable piece in a trade as well. And now when you start looking at Mercer as a piece, with potentially Nemitz or Casey, potentially a first-round draft pick next year, and then you throw in the Palat and Dougies of the world, the Devils certainly have some pieces where they could try to facilitate something to shake this team up and, improve the team for next season. But it's all just kind of out there, But let me get to the comments. I just ranted for a lot, but wow. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Those 2 guys alone, Dougie and Palat, represent $15 million. And then you're talking about a guy like Mercer who would have value in a trade with the young defenseman, a first-round pick. There's lots of stuff, but I'm going to say what's up to all of you. James, I went to PA to buy fireworks. Very nice. Devs fan 125, what's up? Gem Card, Ace, my guy, hope you're having a good summer so far. What's up, Gem Card? Yeah, I'm having a good summer so far. It always goes so quick, but, we're inching closer and closer to hockey season, but we're still over 3 months away from regular season, a little under 3 months from preseason, but I enjoy the summer. And so, I will enjoy the summer while it's here. SST, I remember traveling, calling Fitzgerald a fantastic GM. I wonder whether traveling still feels the same way. Oh boy. Billy D, hey Ace, what's going on? Billy Devils, yo, what's going on? RJ Connor says, Ace, what's up? RJ Devils. The Devils are selecting so many centers at the draft. I'll get to the draft later this week. I'm more in the more immediate team kind of news focus right now. But some interesting picks. Obviously, the Devils love the U.S. developmental program where Jack came from. And yeah, we seem to really like picking from there. Derek, what's going on? Stephen Engel, Tuesday, big day. It is a big day indeed. Traveling Devil says, never used the word fantastic. I actually gave him till December of last year and said it was time for him to go. I gave him his chance. Gary says, get rid of Fitz. He keeps dead weight. I mean, not all dead weight is easy to shed, but he's trying. It seems like he's trying. SST, you've been giving him chance after chance for 5 years. Gem Card, I want Jason Robertson to be okay with giving up good players to get him. I know it's a pipe dream, but seems somewhat possible. I don't think it's a pipe dream. I think there is a path to get him, but I do think there'll be a ton of teams in on him. And my biggest concern with Robertson is after this season, he's going to probably want $12 to $13, $14 million. I mean, these contracts are going to get wild. He only has 1 year left. Great value on the last year of his deal, but after that, you're going to have to pay a fortune. Roberts has no Marner. DevSam125, I saw a video from Mike Bartner. Go support him if you haven't. I'll have to look into that. About the Devils getting Marchie. His reason is we need leadership and went after a simpler guy like Marcia. So thoughts? I openly talked about at the deadline last year when Marchand's name was being floated around. I have said multiple times I would love Marchand. Playoff winner, dog, brings the feistiness, brings the leadership. And a lot of people were telling me I was crazy and he's old and this and that. And everyone's scarred by age. Marchand had a playoff worthy of the Conn Smythe. If it wasn't for Sam Bennett's absolutely monstrous performance, Marchand very well may have won the Conn Smythe. But I would love a guy like Marchand. I do think he's going to stay in Florida. I just don't see why he wouldn't, with a juggernaut of a team in place built to contend for years to come, with the no state income tax, with the great weather. I mean, you'd have to be a lunatic to want to leave there, but who knows? Maybe he truly is looking for a break the bank payday, and maybe someone will give it to him. I probably would be I'd be okay with overpaying him to get him. I think he would bring a lot of the element that we lack, but I don't even think he would consider us. Phil Painter says, I thought the stream was for tomorrow. I am doing a stream tomorrow as well with the Uncle Puckers. Check that out. That's on the channel. We're going, I think it's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I'll be on with the Uncle Puckers. We'll be talking about all kinds of devil stuff. So that should be interesting. Looking forward to that. That's tomorrow night. But this was just a random Sunday night. I like the Sunday night. I like the Sunday night kind of just, for some reason, it just feels good to chill with you guys and talk Devils hockey on a Sunday night. Slurp, please call Fitzgerald by his moral name, Boozeface. Devils, the rumors about Quinn shut down. Again, I GM speak. There's definitely smoke there. I don't care who says what. There's definitely some truth to him potentially being shopped or wanting out. And so I'm not, I'm not going to put too much stock into people trying to shut it down. SST says little Luke will be bridged, just like I said. I can't see it, SST. I think that would be suicidal. And when the deal is up, then at that point, Luke's going to be taught, 12, 13 million bucks, probably easily, maybe even more. I think a bridge deal would be maniacal on the part of the Devils. And I think that also, if they are trying to kind of keep both Hughes brothers here long-term, which it seems like they are, and it seems like they're obviously trying to get Quinn Hughes and have him here long-term as well, not locking up Luke long-term and having him and Jack's deals kind of expire around the same time, I think would be a grave mistake. A grave mistake, but who knows? Maybe he will, but I can't see it. I think it's going to be a long-term deal, but I hope we see it sooner than later and it doesn't spill into training camp like we saw with Dawson Mercer last summer. I think he only missed 1 day at camp, but who knows? Who knows how that kind of affected his overall mentality, play, or whatever. We have no way to know. But I think I would like to see the deal done sooner than later, as many of you would. Steven says Luke is not getting bridged. I can't see it either. He's just assuming shit. Gary, if they get Jason Robertson, they need to give them Mercer, Nemitz, or Casey and Palat. I don't think Dallas would want Palat because of their cap situation and where they are as a team. But I certainly think Mercer and Nemitz or Casey would probably be a part of it for sure. But there's going to be a lot of teams offering a lot of stuff for Robertson. But like I said, after that deal's up, he's going to get paid heavy. It's going to be a hefty contract. And so is that a guy the Devils want to make the newest, highest paid player? Maybe it is. But you're talking about he'll be the highest paid player by a good margin. Phil says Luke Bridge, then Fitz needs to go. I mean, if he refuses to sign a long-term deal, what can you do? If Luke is like, I'm not doing it, then you're kind of, your hand is forced. I mean, are they going to get into a standoff where Luke holds out? I can't see it happening, and I can't see Luke not wanting to sign the long-term deal either. I mean, set yourself up for the future, get that money and be done with it. But who knows where his head's at, and who knows kind of behind the scenes what the Hughes brothers are plotting. But it seems like Quinn wants to be in New Jersey with his brothers. Steven says, let things play out. Luke cannot be bridged and won't be bridged. I certainly hope not. Phil says if we get Robertson, he has to have a contract. You might see that extension kind of as part of it. I don't think the Devils would offer up a king's ransom for him without knowing they could sign him at some point. To trade a ton of stuff for him for a 1-year rental would be kind of crazy. SST says he'll get a 4-year contract. I can't see it. Slurp, Boozeface is done after the season regardless of what happens. I'm curious why you think that, Slurp. I don't think that's the case, but we will find out. Steven says 8 years, 8.6 he'll get. I'd be happy with that. To me, in my opinion, that would be a massive win for the Devils. To make almost $1 million less than Noah Dobson got on a long-term deal. Got to leave some meat on the bone, but we'll see. Will he leave meat on the bone, or is he going to want top dollar? In that 10.5 range. I mean, that would... Robert says, Palat, see ya. Phil, then they will want our first-round pick next year. You guys know how I am. Win now. Trade all the first-round picks for known commodities. I have no interest in first-round picks. Obviously, if it's a top 5 or something, then it's a different story where you can get an impact player where it's a little bit more of a sure thing. And even those aren't a sure thing, but it's way more of a sure thing than a mid-round or late first-round pick. And good teams trade them away. They don't stockpile first-round picks. Brisebois in Tampa Bay has traded away his first-rounders for the foreseeable future. And when he was asked about it in a media press conference, he said, I rather have a roster of good players than a cupboard full of draft picks. And I feel the same way, especially where this team is at now. Obviously, for certain other teams that are in more of a rebuild or a young team looking to kind of build a team for the future, different story. But this team should 1,000% be in win-now mode, period. The core is aging. Markey's a win-now goalie. We got some veteran defensemen. You got to make some aggressive moves and try to win now. Damien says, is anyone else surprised we did not hear from Fitz after the draft? I'm not. I'm not at all. Collect records. No chance Luke is bridged. Fitz is dumb, but he's not even that dumb. Luke is getting $9.25 million. Oof. Again, that's still, I would say, a team discount and a good deal for the Devils. But obviously, for cap reasons, I hope it's closer to 8.5 than 9.25. Because at the 9.25, then the Devils are left, assuming no other salary is traded out, that leaves us with $5 million to make all the other moves we have to make. And you're not going to see anything too substantial with $5 million to play with, unfortunately. Steven says, because Tuesday shit is going to go down, keeping it a secret. Oh, Steven's got some high hopes. SST will get 8 years only if Hamilton's moved, or maybe he knows that Dougie's going to be traded at some point. Capped THC, I bet Luke signs an 8x8 deal like Jack did. I think that's a little wishful thinking given the new cap climate, Captain. I would love to see it, but I just think that's, from his standpoint, probably a little too much of a team-friendly discount. Listen, I would love to see it, and I would sing Luke's praises for not being greedy, but I think it's going to ultimately... months ago, I predicted it would be between $7 and $8 million. That was before Dougie got hurt, before Luke, he had a little bit of a slow start. He finished much stronger, put up decent numbers. And now with all the cap news coming out, I think at this point now, that $8 to $9 million range is best case scenario for the Devils. 9.25, someone just said wouldn't be the worst thing, but $8 million. Luke would be a hero for signing that. I would love to see it. Gary says, I need to keep Jake Allen. Oh boy. This is one that I've talked about kind of in depth. In the end, I like Jake Allen, appreciate his service, but there's rumors out there he's looking for a multi-year deal of $5 million. We simply cannot afford that. We cannot. With all the other needs the team has, paying anywhere near that amount of money for Jake Allen, I think, would be lunacy. And for all the people that talk about, oh, Markey's old, this and that, Jake Allen's also old. So I do like Jake Allen. He did great for us last year, but in the end, with the tight cap that we have, I think it would be completely insane to pay him anywhere near $5 million, given all of the other needs that we have. How can we commit anywhere near $5 million to him? I think it would be completely insane, but it seems that the Devils are trying to bring him back, but I just can't see it. I think other teams will pay him much more than we could or should pay him. And I think you're going to see him, go to a team like Edmonton or someone else looking for a goalie. Jake is the cream of the goalie crop. And for me, it's time to move on and give Dawes the reins, or go look in free agency or trade potentially for a veteran goalie. There was reports a few weeks ago they were sniffing around looking at other veteran goalies to back up Markey. I wouldn't be against it. But I also think, give Dawes his chance. He's shown enough to me, whether it was, some of his play in 23-24 or the small sample size we saw last season. I think Dawes can handle it, and I think it's time to let him sink or swim. Our defense is much better than it was in 23-24, and I do believe that Dawes or any other average NHL goaltender will play pretty good behind this Devils defense. I do believe in them that much that I think any average NHL goalie will do decent, and I think Dawes can do it. I think it's time to see what he's got. Phil says 9.25 is a lot for Luke. If they want Quinn, he'll have to take a team-friendly deal. I mean, Phil, the reality is 9.25 would be considered team-friendly. It's just, we all want it to be team-friendlier. But making at 9.25, he'd be making $250,000 a year less than Noah Dobson. I mean, wow. Yeah, Ball just got 5.3. I talked about this earlier. Exactly. Wow. Luke is getting paid, says Traveling Devil. Roberts really should have kept Ball. I liked Ball, but it was time. It was time. I like our defense where it's at now. We got some young guys waiting in the wings. Ice Truck Thriller. Remember when the Devils used to make the playoffs almost every year? I miss those days. Yeah, like I said, the playoffs were our birthright. Every year in the Lou era, we knew we were going to the playoffs. It was, can we win a cup? How far will we go? But the playoffs was never a question. It was a guarantee. And I firmly believe this team should have kind of been that way again from the 22-23 season on. I was duped into believing it was the turning point. I really did. With that core in place, it seemed like things were looking up. Now we're going to be a perennial playoff team. We're going to win some playoff rounds and keep pushing and pushing until eventually we win a cup. But then we took a massive step backwards in 23-24, and I do believe it was damaging to the team's psyche and valuable playoff experience that they did not get. That one will always burn me. That 23-24 season was a lost opportunity. Slurp says just go out and get Brock Besser and get over with. Listen, would I be happy if we got him? Sure, to some extent. Would I be ecstatic? No. No, I wouldn't, because I do think there is better usage of the money for other guys. And I think he's going to get a lot as well. What was he just making? I think he was just making good money, and he's going to want more. Again, the new cap is just going to make everything crazy. Yeah, he was making 6.65. He's easily going to be over 8. Yeah, last year he had 25 and 25. Listen, can Mercer get back to that level? I think he could. Can Mercer be a 25-25 guy? I think he could be, and I think he's going to get a chance to crack the top 6. Now, the question is, will he be able to do it? Yeah, so I think AFP has Besser's, again, these aren't, they're just projections, but they have Besser at 6 years, $8.5 million. Again, can you spend that better? I think you can. Phil says, get us Robertson and re-sign Glass. Another one we're going to wait and see. He didn't get his qualifying offer, which would have had to have been $2.5 million. Seemed like the Devils did want him back, but at a cheaper number. I don't know how much cheaper it could be. I like Cody Glass for 4C. Don't like him for 3C. And another guy where I'm like, is there better options out there? But there might not be. There might not be. Phil says they would want more Robertson as a 100-point player. Imagine that he would be lethal on a line. I talked about this before. He'd be lethal on a line with Jack and Bratter or Nico and Timo, and also gives us some really ridiculous power play options as well. Yeah, I mean, Robertson could have career years with the Devils if he was to come here. That we could really put out some super high-end skill lines. Pyro Gob, like Dougie, but Luke is going to be the top guy on D soon. I agree. Or Quinn, I agree with that. But is that this year? Can you just assume that if we traded Dougie hypothetically this summer, that Luke is just ready to take that reign and run with it? I think you're going to be asking a lot of him. Can he be capable? I certainly think so, but I do think it might be a little premature just to assume that we would have a seamless transition from Dougie to Luke in that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I would be. I think you would feel it. Steven, we have pairs going into the season for each line. Jack, Bratt, Nico, Timo, Gritsuk, Haminaho, Cotter, Nason need the missing pieces. I think Gritsuk is almost a guarantee for the bottom 6. I do not think Haminaho is. I think he's going to have a big showing in camp, probably preseason as well, to play onto the roster. But he's definitely a guy who's kind of, I think, at the moment on the bubble that will have opportunity and have a chance to crack the lineup. I will be rooting for him. I saw him at development camp a couple years ago, and he was pretty impressive. Let me just check something here. Aminaho, and if he doesn't make the team out of camp, I do think he will be one of the first guys called up when we inevitably have injuries. World's worst gamer for sure. Ball's being paid in that long contract he just got. What is the per? He signed a 6-year, $32.1 million contract. His cap hit is 5.35. What a nice payday for Ball. Phil, Nemitz will be way better than next season. I think he will. Obviously, a little bit of a rocky season. He had his trials and tribulations, but he had a very strong showing in the playoffs. Obviously scored that double overtime goal in game 3. Claw the Devils back into the playoffs, into the series. Ice Truck Thriller, first-round pick is inevitably part of a trade for Quinn, but what else would the Devils have to give up to get him? I think it's a lot more than people think. I think the Canucks would realistically want a first-round pick, and if we were to include Dougie in there, it could be something like a first-round pick, Dougie, Mercer, and then probably Nemitz or Casey. And even that might not get it done, but I think that would kind of be the starting conversation. Next year's first, Dougie, Nemitz or Casey plus Mercer. Phil says first-round pick, right-hand D player, and probably Mercer. Captain says Dougie is still great when healthy. I agree. Robert says no Robertson. Kyle says I feel like he'll bring in Druin for bottom 6. I wouldn't be mad at that. He was a guy I kind of wanted a couple years ago. Last year, pretty decent showing in 43 games with the Avs. He had 11 goals and 26 assists for 37 points. I wouldn't mind him at all. And that's another guy where you bring him in, assuming there's no other big moves. Does he get a crack in your top 6? Maybe it's a little bit less than ideal, but the reality is who are those other 2 guys? We have the big 4. Who are the other 2? I mean, he would probably have a chance to sneak his way into that top 6 if we were able to get him. Pyro says 27 first plus Siegenthaler on the table for Quinn. There's no way that's anywhere near enough. Phil says there are hardly any rumors the Devils besides Fitz is watching Dallas. Yeah, the Robertson thing's going to be interesting if it actually happens. Steven says Nemitz and Dougie got to go if Quinn comes here. Well, I think Dougie would most likely be part of the deal. I don't think they both have to go. I just think it'd be Dougie that has to go because of the $9 million that he makes. Pyro says win now, move ace, provided the asking isn't insane. We need win nows to give Hischier a reason to not to take a Denver bound plane. I agree. For all the people that think it's a crazy notion that he could want to leave, I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, he's been in the league for 8 years. He's won a single playoff round and 7 playoff games. What are we really talking about? I could totally see him wanting to test free agency and see what contenders would try to court him. And at that point, we're talking about 2 more years. He's easily getting $100 million deal. Or wait, the new CBA, I think, cut it down from 8 years if you're re-signing a guy to 7 years. So 6, maybe some. By then, I think it might be in effect where it can only be a 6-year deal. But okay, by then he might get a 6-year, $13 million, a year deal, $80 million or so. Today's stream brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin', and so does Ace. Need my iced coffee. Got the cold brew with some of the turbo shots. 1 pump only, mint chocolate chip, the syrup flavor. If you get all the pumps they put in by default, you'll end up with the diabetes. They do like 6 pumps, and it's just like pounds of sugar, but delicious. Shout out to Dunkin'. Pyro says, I don't want to wait for Quinn. I'm okay with waiting if they're asking for too much. And we don't really know. It's all just kind of speculation. But the package, even for the 2 years sooner, would not be cheap. I'm certainly okay with not parting with any assets and waiting to get him in free agency for free. That's probably my preferred move. But I do think the true real window is the next 2 years. I feel like, we can be good in beyond that, but I feel like if they're going to win a cup with this core, it's got to be in the next 2 years. And I will say If this core has another dud of a season, I think the chatter will get louder in terms of, can this core get it done? And at that point, I think it would be fair. And then I think at that point, Fitz or whoever the GM is, if he is released of his duties, would have to ask the real hard questions and potentially look at making some kind of organizational, really shaking up, like monumental earthquake type moves. Because how many times are you going to go into battle with the same horses and come up short? It's a fair question. Pyro says, same with if we went for Brady, I'd be asking for Brad if I was Ottawa. You guys know how I feel about Brady. One of my favorite non-Devils in the league. I mean, and if you've ever watched them, you know why. SST says, in 2 years, Quinn will be asking for $15 million. No thanks. Let the Canucks keep him. But everyone's going to be asking for insane money. And so is he willing to sign a team friendly and leave some meat on the bone to play with his brothers and try to keep the Devils as competitive as possible and giving them cap space? It is possible. Devils, who will be the new captain after Nico? Well, hopefully it's Nico for a very long time. I'm hoping Nico retires a Devil and we see his number 13 up in the rafters one day, along with at least one Stanley Cup banner that he was the captain for. But I'd have to imagine they probably would give it to Jack. I mean, that just seems like, what they would do. Phil, will Yegorov be ready after the season to play? I think a lot of that is going to be, kind of hinging on how he plays this season. I do know that Jay Pandolfo, head coach of BU, Boston University, where he plays, I did an interview with him. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out on the channel. It's in the interview playlist. Pando was hoping that he would have Yegorov for at least 2 seasons after his first year, which was last year. So Pando was hoping for this upcoming season and one more for him at BU, but who knows? Maybe he will leave college after next year. But I don't expect him to be an NHL starter immediately. He's still super young. The team may want to have him get a year of seasoning in the AHL. And so realistically, I would say at the earliest, you could even see Yegorov in a backup role would probably be 2 years from now, but more than likely, it's probably 3 or 4 years. Traveling Devil says, Quinn coming early doesn't put us in the Cup Finals. I completely agree. One of the best players in the league, no doubt. Does he make the team better? Absolutely. Does he immediately fix everything and make us a Cup contender? I can't say that he does, but could he be part of a series of moves that could get this team closer to a Cup Finals appearance or a win? I do think so, but it's going to have to come in conjunction with other moves. Him alone is not going to do it. Billy says, any chance NJ would give up Dawson? I think for sure. In the right deal, I think he definitely could be traded. Blackatron, Quinn will sign for less than market. Who wouldn't take a discount to play with their bros instead of being stuck in Bumble, BC? That's the hope. That's the hope. Everybody sign team friendlies. Let's get the band together, but you never know. Agents are not a fan of this stuff. They want top dollar for their clients and for themselves. And so it's obviously an ongoing, tug of war between your desire to win, play with your brothers, and then also get paid. Because that's what they're here for, right? It's to get that money. Phil says, Quinn plus a top 6 forward in 3C will definitely put us in Cup contention. It puts us closer. Will I say it immediately makes us a Cup contender? I mean, so much has to happen. Obviously, the first thing that has to happen is that we need to stay healthy. That's the first thing. You got to stay healthy. That's where it starts. Can this team stay healthy? Can Jack, Nico, Timo, Markey, can the defense stay relatively healthy? And if they can, I think that's a great start. But we also need those complementary pieces to be brought in to really make us a contender. Because if you watch the playoffs, you really saw what it's about. Playoff warfare. Been talking about this forever, and it's never going to change. The playoffs is absolute war. Phil says, as long as we stay healthy, exactly. Blackatron, bottom 6 is the priority. We've said it since Christmas break. For sure, but I do think it is time to try to address the glaring hole or holes in the top 6. I can't see us getting 2 top 6 guys, but getting 1 would be nice. 1 would be nice, and the bottom 6 needs that gut renovation we've been talking about. Travelin says, going to need a veteran goalie soon, too. Yo, Holmes, got to fire Tom Fitzgerald. Can't win with him. The franchise is just wasting time. I hope you're wrong, but I can't, I can't. The track record speaks for itself. I mean, what are we doing here? It just seems like every year it's the kind of the same old thing. What are we going to see? What are we going to see? Traveling says Skinner couldn't make it 6 games in the finals, and that's why I think Edmonton might be throwing that cash at Jake Allen. Yo, Holmes, Glass will not be re-signed. Centers are valuable. Fitz effed up by not tendering him. You would have paid him the 2.5, Yo, Holmes? Who even knows if he would have signed that? It could be a misstep. We're gonna find out. Steven says LeChance is playing in the AHL this year. I would think so. But if he has a big camp in preseason, I wouldn't be shocked if he could play his way onto the team. I think he's one of those guys, probably a notch below Haminaho, but I think those are both guys that with an impressive camp preseason, could he claim a roster spot? I don't think it's impossible. He's probably a little bit more of a long shot, I would say. Cam Squires, another guy that I liked from what I saw at development camp, and also he had a pretty good rookie tournament in Buffalo last summer. Cam Squires, another young dude. I think he's only 19. But could he play his way onto the Devils? He's 20. Can he play his way onto the Devils sooner than later? Another guy to keep an eye on. Haminaho and Grits are up here. We'll find out. I think Grits definitely. Haminaho, I think he's going to have to show something, but we're going to see. Billy, can Mercer be a 2C with Habs? I don't know that Mercer wants to go back to center. He was asked about it, and he said he likes playing wing better. Obviously, he'd be more valuable to a team if he could actually play center, but I don't know if teams, would make a substantial trade for him, assuming that he could be a 2C. I mean, wow, that's kind of asking a lot for a guy that hasn't played a whole lot of center as of late. Ice Truck Thriller, NJ have what, 1 or 2 playoff round wins since 2012? 1 or 2 playoff round wins. You wish it was 2 rounds. The only round they've won since then is the first round of the 23 playoffs against the Rangers. And 2 other playoff appearances. One in 17-18 where we got dusted by the Tampa Bay Lightning in 5 games. And then obviously this past season where we got dusted in 5 games again by the Carolina Hurricanes. And so what that represents is in the 8 years of Jesper Bratt and Nico Hischier's career, 8 years, they both broke into the league in 17-18. 8 seasons in the National Hockey League. They've played in the playoffs 3 times. They've won a single playoff round and 7 total playoff games. That makes me want to throw up on my desk. Careers are being squandered. I'm just trying to catch up on the comments here. You guys are very chatty tonight. Appreciate you all joining on this fine Sunday summer evening. Amagi, what's going on? Seth, what's going on to you? Oh, yeah, I'm still super behind here, guys. Bear with me. You guys are typing a lot. Phil says, I think Big Mike still has at least 2 more years in the minors till NHL. Troy, is that tank top from the Bench Clears website? And if it is, how's the quality? It is super lightweight. I don't know what you're expecting. I think the quality is very good. I will tell you that it does use that what's called, sublimation dyeing. And so it's hard to see. But on the crest, it's not like a cheap print on. It's like dyed in the fabric. And so it doesn't get like all crappy. A lot of t-shirts, if it's like printed on with the screen print, like eventually after you wash it, it looks like shit. These hold up very well. Lightweight. I think they're great quality. I love Bench Clears. I think I have every one of the Devils ones that they've made. I have the shorts. I'm a big fan of the Bench Clears collection for sure. All right. I'm trying to catch up here. Some of you guys are hilarious. What's going on, Nicole? Quinn wants to be in New Jersey, which is great, but let's not count our chickens before they hatch and wait and rely on him coming to the Devils. I mean, if he wants to be here, at the latest, he will be here in free agency. I mean, that's a fact now. There's other variables. Could he end up getting dealt from the Canucks and then falling in love with another city? Potentially. But in the end, I think it's just too enticing to want to play with his brothers. And the Devils at the moment are the only team that could offer that luxury. The Andrew 1237, the Devils' move is to go get Jordan Kyrou. He has Lots of term left, and I've heard he's on the market. What do you think? I've talked about him in a separate video and earlier on this live. Kyrou for 6 more years at $8.125 million. Sign me up. Love that contract. I think Kyrou definitely could help the top 6 and inject some new life into this team. But because of the remaining 6 years at $8.125 million, I'd have to believe he would fetch quite a haul in a trade. Now, do the Devils have the pieces to do it? Sure, they do. But again, is that the guy you kind of want? Not that they're going all in, but like I've said before, you only have so many assets to trade to make these things happen and so much cap space. And so if the Devils make one of these big moves where they trade the first round pick next year and a guy like Nemitz or Casey, it's almost like that's your big move, like for the next few years almost, unless you're talking about breaking up the core. But in terms of keeping the core in place and making a big add, you really only have one crack at it, in my opinion, because like I said, first round pick, Nemitz, Casey, whatever it is, you only got one shot at it. And so I think Kyrou could be a guy worth kind of using all of your pieces to get, but we're going to find out. And there's been, conflicting reports if he's truly available or not, but there's other guys besides him that I would love to get as well. Collect Records says, I still can't believe Fitz made those 2 second-round picks. I would have preferred to trade them, but listen, for all the things that I've complained about with Fitz, like I'm not going to complain too much about that. Would I have preferred to trade them? Yes. For win now pieces, absolutely. But like it is what it is. I mean, as many of you know, our kind of organizational depth is very much lacking at the moment, especially at forward. I think we do have some decent defensive depth, but even that kind of goes quick when you look at the depth chart and you're like, ooh, and we saw it last year, right? How many games did we have multiple guys that are more AHL forwards in the lineup? I mean, that to me is it's a pretty damning kind of thing for your organizational depth, which goes back to drafting and developing guys. When you have several AHL players in your lineup, it's not a great thing. Pyro, we should do a monster offer for Tuck and Thompson. So this is where I'm at. I think Tage Thompson is a complete pipe dream. Would I love him? Absolutely. I do think Tuck is way more realistic, and he might be my number one realistic one. 6'4", 219, power forward, brings us an element we don't really have. I think that would be a nice little ingredient to have some of that that skilled grit in the top 6. Tuck, again, Thompson I love, obviously, but I think that might be a little too much of a pipe dream. Tuck could be attainable. Who knows what Buffalo's thinking? Who knows what their real plans are? You've seen them. They just traded Peterka. I'm sure a lot of guys aren't happy there. It sucks to be a Sabres fan. I feel bad for them. But if Tuck is ever available, that's a guy that I think you have to really make a push for. Tuck is a guy I would absolutely love, as well as Tage. But I don't think Tage Thompson's going to, he's their franchise player at the moment. I think it'd be kind of crazy for Buffalo to trade him. I think it'd be crazy for them to trade Tuck as well, but you never know. And if he's being floated around, that's a guy I do whatever I can within reason to get Tuck, because him in our top 6 would be beautiful. I would love to see it. Kaylee says, I wish we had Tage Thompson, Robertson. I would love either one. I would prefer Tage. He would be very high on my list league-wide. Phil says Kyrou is going to Montreal. Yo, Holmes says, if Ball is making 5+, Luke should get 10+, and Quinn should be making 25. We're going to see some crazy deals. Crazy deals. Traveling Devil, Quinn is probably one of the only league's top players that want to be in New Jersey at this point. I probably agree. And that's because his brothers are here. So you have to use every advantage you have. And when he wants to play with his brothers and we have them, you got to kind of explore it. Phil says Tage and Robertson would be nuts. We don't have the trade chips for both. Well, not only do we not have the trade chips, we don't have the cap space. Now, I will say, to that point, if they were looking to break up the core, then we would potentially have the trade chips and the cap space to do that, to bring in Tage and Robertson, which would be one of the craziest off seasons of all time. I don't think they're going to look to break up the core this off season. I think, if anything, you may see it considered next off season, next summer. But one of them would be phenomenal. And again, I like Tage more than Robertson, but I wouldn't complain if we got Robertson. But Tage Thompson would be a dream. And I would take Tuck. Happily take Tuck. I think that's way more realistic. I think Tage Thompson could be a pipe dream, and Robertson could be a pipe dream, but I don't think it has to be. Cap says Luke has not produced enough yet to ask for more than Jack. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, Capped. Because you're comparing a deal Jack signed years ago. The cap has gone up tremendously, and it's going to continue to go up. And so you cannot use Jack's deal from several years ago to Luke Hughes' contract now. Noah Dobson just signed for 9.5, my guy. He certainly could ask for more than Jack. And at this point, I would say if we do sign him to a long-term deal, it is inevitable that he is going to get more than Jack's $8 million a year. The question is, how much more than the $8 million? But he's certainly going to get more than $8 million. For sure. You could bet your life on it. Jason O'Nyes just took a team-friendly deal. Yeah, a lot of people thought he might be a guy that teams send some offer sheets to. I thought that could have been interesting, but he stays in Toronto, gets paid. I think he got like $7.75 or something, a good number for him. Another guy, obviously, many fans would love to have on their team, and another dog. The Andrew Cairo would be the best pickup. His contract is a steal, too. Agree. 6 years at $8.125 million more. Would love to see it. Phil says they already said it would take a king's ransom for Cairo. It makes sense. Very good player, and with 6 years at that value, it would make sense that they would want a king's ransom. Maybe he stays put. Maybe no one meets their demands. I'd be curious to know exactly what they're asking for. James says, if the Devils are doing a beach party this year, I feel like they have not done one in a while. I don't remember the last time they did it. I've never went to one. Personally, didn't appeal to me, but I haven't seen anything about it. And I'd imagine if they were going to do it, we would have heard something. But who knows? Maybe they announced it on short notice. Jason says, Luke, take 7.75, save some money for us. I think that is a beyond pipe dream, Jason. Now, 7.75. Oh, that would be super, super team friendly. Super team friendly. I'm still trying to catch up. You guys are chatty. Pyro says, only guy I'd be having Brat in a deal for is Brady. I don't think Brady's going anywhere now. And if he does, I think he goes to Florida eventually. Morkel says, never trade Jack or Brat ever. What's going on? Well, Allen can very easily end up with more than $5 million since the top of available goalies and therefore will be coveted. Nah, NJ can't throw that kind of money at him. I agree. I mean, over $5 million is even crazier. Brandon says teams are out trading like crazy, and here's our GM sleeping. Again, the only thing I'm going to say is I talked about it earlier, Brandon. I don't know when you got in here, but the two biggest contracts that everyone's looking at, obviously, is Dougie and Palat, and they both have no move clauses that have a modified 10-team pre-approved trade list that kicks in on July 1 with free agency. And so I personally didn't expect much for either of those guys before July 1. When those lists go into effect, maybe we see one or both of them dealt. Makes it much easier for the Devils to maneuver once that kicks in a few days. What's going on, Devil Heaven? How you doing? Ice Truck Thriller says, have Allen and Skinner compete for the starting job. Trade Pickard, who deserves better. I don't think in an ideal world any team really wants to have to rely on Jake Allen to be like their workhorse goalie. But I could see a scenario where Edmonton brings him in and he ends up being the guy. I mean, listen, it is what it is. You got to go with your best possible starter. And if Allen's outplaying Skinner, you got to go with them. Maybe not what they had pictured, but what other option do they have unless they swing a big deal? But I don't see any other goalies that are magically going to materialize for them to get. And I do think Jake Allen is going to get paid. He is going to be a paid man in a few days. Phil says, too bad Rossi wants $7 million. He'd be perfect for a 3C. I've talked about him briefly in the past. I'm no more undersized guys for me. I'm sorry. It's just too redundant, Phil. I want a big boy center. Give me a poor man's Jason Arnott, Bobby Holik, Joe Neuendijk. Give me a big center. Give me something big down the middle. A power center. Ball would have been gone now if NJ held on to him. His contract that he just signed is also north of $5 million. He certainly didn't play like he earned that much. I like Ball, but he would have had to go. Jay Snow says Rossi's another small center. We don't need that. Nicole, I feel like we are a great team now and can make the playoffs like this year. But number of one games, we get too beaten up over the season to actually play to full capacity in the playoffs. Yeah, we have a lot of injury-prone guys. Hopefully it ends. Hopefully that comes to an end this season. But the injuries have been very unkind to us over the past couple of years. And it's unfortunate. If we could stay healthy, that's a big start. But I don't think bringing back a majority, when Fitz said we're not bringing back the same team, as it stands right now, it's like, I think it could be a majority of the same team minus like Halla and maybe a couple other guys in the bottom six that are swapped out for other guys. I wouldn't say that's a complete no-look New Jersey Devils. Not that I expected a full new-look team, obviously, in the course of one offseason, given where the cap space is, but it would be nice to see some impactful players brought in. LJ says every team except Panthers has players their fan base doesn't want anymore. It's up to Fitz to be creative. Yeah, creativity would be nice. I mean, he was able to move the Hall of money, which was a good start. But again, we're still pretty tight up against the cap. I do think that, again, Luke, even at $9 million, that leaves us with like $5 million to address everything else. Assuming no other contracts are moved out, it's tough. It's tough. We're right up against it. You're going to have to move something else if something substantial is going to happen. And I will say, I'm not really expecting it. I'm really not. I know a lot of people will be disappointed. My realistic expectations for this offseason was we're going to see a Luke extension and we're going to see some guys brought into the bottom six. And that's realistically all I was expecting for this offseason. Now, would I like to see more? Absolutely. I do think when we let Toffoli go, not getting another top six forward was a glaring mistake. I mean, we took a shot on, Tatar, and obviously that didn't pan out. And then we tried a bunch of other guys there. Nothing really happened. Palat was forced to play in the top six. It was unfortunate. But to me, that's the single biggest glaring hole on the team right now. I love the defense. I love the goaltending. We saw it last year, much improved. Defense and goaltending was a big issue in 23-24. Fitz went out, had a very good offseason last year, fixed all of that stuff, got Markey, Pesci, Dylan, Kovacevic. Great work there, but the hole was left for the top six guy that was left by Toffoli's departure, and it was never replaced, and we did feel it. Obviously, a lot of other things happened as well. Obviously, injuries once again, the bottom six falling off a cliff, but all of those things combined to show that the offense just didn't have it. And I do think we're going to need some juice. A top six guy would be great and some bottom six guys that could hopefully produce as well. But a lot of unfortunate things came together last year for the Devils to just have difficulty scoring, like in a bad way. LJ says, I only want Dougie gone. If Quinn is on the way, would make Luke even better this year. Phil, Barbashev is too small. What? I guess that's someone else. I don't know. Sherry, Ace, if they don't re-sign Jake, who would be our backup goalie? I mean, conventional wisdom would tell you it would be Nico Dawes. Now, we do have some other guys in the system, Jacob Malik, Brennan, there's some other guys. But in the end, I would say, as it stands right now, if Allen wasn't brought back, and assuming we didn't go out and either sign or trade for a different veteran goaltender, that as it stands today, it would more than likely be Nico Dawes, which I would be okay with. Now, is that a calculated gamble? Absolutely. My buddy Steve the Maniac is very, very, we agree on a lot of stuff. This is one where he would like Allen back, but he understands the cap situation. But we were talking about it earlier today, and it is true that we did for years kind of gamble on goaltending, and it came back to bite us in the ass. But I will say with that, most of those years, those dark years, we didn't have a real starting goalie. And so I personally, because of the cap space and all of the needs up front, I'm rolling the dice. If it's me, I'm rolling the dice with Markey and Nico Dawes. Or again, I would be okay with another veteran goalie brought in if for whatever reason they don't want to trust Nico Dawes. But I think it's time to trust Nico Dawes. When are you going to trust him? If not now, when? And to pay Allen anywhere near $5 million, I think would be negligence. Given all the other needs we have, I mean, yeah, what was he good for this team last year? Absolutely. And we probably don't make the playoffs without him. When Markey went down, Allen kept us in there. Won a lot of games we had no business winning. The most top of mind one being that game in Columbus. I think it was a 2-1 game where we got dominated in the third period. Allen stood on his head. He may have had like 20 saves in the third period. He stole the game, and he won a lot of other games that we probably would have lost without him. But the cap space is super tight, and we just don't have the money. I mean, essentially, he would get most of the remaining cap space at the moment. Now, I don't think we would even consider it without moving at least Palat. But to me, I would be pretty upset if we did move Palat's money and then gave a good chunk of that to Allen, knowing all the other needs we have up front. I think you got to get a top 6 guy if you're able to free up that money. Steven, I know it's early, but it's pretty terrifying how there aren't any reports about deals were rumored to be. And last season, we pretty much had Pesci signed before the trade deadline. Yeah, but, things are hush-hush. You never know. Like I said, way more options open up on July 1. When Palat and Dougie have those 10-team pre-approved trade lists. And so will we see one of them moved? But if they're not, I don't know what deals you guys are expecting. There is literally very little money to go around for all of the holes we have to fill. Devil Heaven says, hang on to Dougie for a year. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't think it's time yet. If there's a deal out there, I wouldn't be against it, but I would be certainly skittish. I certainly would be skittish because I do think we will feel his absence. Yo, Holmes, a second for Dumoulin just to rent him is such a brutal move. Yeah, and shout out to Dumoulin. Great playoff for him. Yeah, I mean, I think, didn't they retain on that deal too? I think part of the reason we overcompensated for him is to save money. I hate to say it, but I think that's what it was. They retained some of his salary, and we're like, oh, yeah, let's just give him a pick, and we'll save that money. It's essentially selling a pick. You're almost selling a pick. Kind of wild. Dunkin' stinks. Come on, man. Moggy, I miss Dunkin' iced coffee because the unsweetened flavors suck. Devil Heaven, let's give a shout out to the Aceinator. Hit that like button. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Hit the thumbs up for your boy and for your New Jersey Devils. Are not 1, 2, 3. Our battle literally is round 1 of the playoffs. It's not like our core is getting us close. I know a lot of people are down on the core. I understand why everyone's saying that. Listen, how many years can you see the same kind of thing and still believe? I will say I do believe in the core for the most part, but I think they have to be supplemented with the right complementary players. I do like the core, but the core alone is not enough. We need a gritty top 6 guy with some grit, that skilled grit, and we need a functioning bottom 6. And then I think if we're healthy, if we get those pieces, can we be closer to a true contending team? I believe so. But the core needs the help. They need the right complementary pieces. And right now, I do not think we have them. That is just the reality. Mia says McCann is who I want. I would like McCann. He was a guy we talked about last year when his name was floating around. I would love McCann. I think he's a guy that if he truly is available, that's another guy you have to kind of kick the tires on. But, you could kick the tires on everybody. In the end, you got to bring someone in. Samuel, why don't I see anyone to acquire for the top 6 in our price range? Can't see anyone taking our overpriced vets unless there's a team who needs to get to the salary floor. I think there will be a few of them, and you don't necessarily need to dump salary in a trade to bring in the guy, right? Like it might be like separate deals. Could Palat be dealt somewhere in a salary dump move, and then you use that money to either sign someone or preferably trade for a guy with term on his deal from somewhere else, free up that money, and then trade out another piece, hypothetically, right? If we just did a Palat move, if someone took Palat in a move like the Halla deal, where it's kind of a salary dump, and it's like, all right, he's gone. There's $6 million freed up. And now if you look at a guy like Mercer and you're like, okay, whatever team is interested in Mercer as part of a deal for hopefully an upgrade, if that's the case, you're talking about then $10 million. If Palat's in a separate deal, $6 million freed up, and then you're trading Mercer in a deal, that's $10 million. That gives you quite a few options, in my opinion. $10 million, especially for guys that are on contracts like a guy like Cairo making 8.125. You get rid of Palat in a separate deal in a salary dump, there's $6 million. And now if Mercer's going the other way as part of a deal for Kyrou, you're there. The cap space is there. But are you going to make those hard decisions and part with assets? You know, a Mercer, Nemitz, or Casey in a first round or whatever it is for a guy like Kyrou. I think it's definitely worth investigating. World's Worst Gamer, I'm scrubbing the bottom of free agents looking for cheap because I know our GM isn't going to get anything done. Someone pointed out Druin. I think he's a guy that could be a low risk, high reward, but he might get more than people think too. The new cap era is going to be wild. It is going to be wild. I'm just skimming the list now. There's some decent names out there, but nothing that like, you know, screams go all out for it. But there's certainly, again, the bar is low. There's tons of guys that would help improve this roster. When you have a team that played several AHL guys throughout the year, I mean, what are we really talking about? It doesn't take much to represent an improvement. Robert says, rumors Dev's interested in Toffoli again. Is that a credible rumor from anywhere? I certainly have not seen that, and I don't think that would be wise. What's going on, Dennis? Tasha says Toffoli ain't leaving. I think he's pretty happy in California, chilling with a lot of those exciting young players out there. Macklin Celebrini. Damon, if you get Jordan Kyrou, who are you moving to the left wing? I think you just figure it out. It's a problem I would love to have. It's a problem I would love to have. Pyro says Robertson and Drew, and I'd be happy. I'd hope so. I mean, oh my God, I think your expectations might be a little wild there, my guy. Jay Snow, we need a top 6 guy and a legit 3C with size. Robert, Laser coming back. That's an interesting one. If I had to bet, I would say no. But who knows? I do think the team likes him. He seems like a great locker room guy. I do think he was playing hurt last season. Could he rebound and show us some more next year? Potentially. I think a lot of it's going to depend on where do the other chips fall kind of leading up to the decision on him. But who knows? Who knows what his fate's going to be? Devil Heaven says Alan C. Buddy Dawes time. Tasha, when are they releasing the development camp roster? It would have to be soon. The camp starts in a few days, next week. SST quiz question. Will the Devils score a single breakaway goal next year? Jack will certainly get at least a few. Despite the team being ice cold on breakaways, we probably as a team were probably like 10% on breakaways. Jack definitely had some last year. And I think, didn't he win the Montreal game on the road on a breakaway? It was a pretty sweet finish, I think. Captain says, I'm hoping Fitz shuts up all the haters by this time next week. Oh, no. Jason, no, Jesper and Nico aren't young kids anymore. Absolutely not. They're approaching 30, and like I've said for years, like a broken record, careers go by in a hurry like that. Before you know it, guys have aged out, move on either in trade, free agency, and, you know, for the longer time fans, we once had a very promising young group with Zach Parise, Zajac, Clarkey, all those guys, and it was like they got to a final, and that was it. And before you knew it, it's like, damn, I can't believe their careers are over. I mean, in some ways, it seems like Zach Parise's NHL debut was very recent to me. Now, it was almost 20 years ago, but his time as a Devil just kind of flew. They couldn't get over the hump, made it to the finals. Zach was the captain, and then obviously you all know how that ended. He goes home to Minnesota, signs a monster deal, him and his boy, but wow. Brandon, the fact that Cotter is our first shooter in the shootout speaks volumes to our top 6. We lack talent and straight-up scoring. I would say yes and no. I think there are a lot of top 6 guys that, for whatever reason, aren't necessarily great in the shootout, and so I can't put too much stock into that because there are teams with depth players in the bottom 6 and sometimes even defensemen that, for whatever reason, they just have the moves in the hands where they are a weapon in the shootout. You've seen that a lot, and so I can't say that necessarily is an indictment on the top 6. I mean, the top 6 is what it is, right? We have a top 4, and then we've rotated, you know, a bunch of different guys out in auditions for the top 6, and none of them really, you know, kind of lived up to it. But Cotter's got those silky mitts. James says, easy on that Duncan. It's liquid diabetes. I only do one pump, my guy. This is a little bit of cream. This is all melted now, but a little cream and just one pump of the one flavor pump. I can't do, they do like 5 or 6. That certainly is diabetes. I know better. Oh, we got people advocating for Starbucks in here. Dennis, Dawes should get a shot to be a backup this coming season. We've talked about this. I completely agree. Samuel says, I still see Nico with a big cat on his chest in 2 years. I hope not, but, nothing would surprise me. Jay Snow says, I'm not in love with Kyrou as the big move. I mean, that's fair. Like I said, I think there's only one real big move to be made in the next few years. Between cap space and assets, I think they have one crack at it to really try to grab a guy that's really going to help. Now, do they think it could be Kyrou? Do they think it could be Robertson? Could it be someone else? You never know. You never know. But the one thing that is attractive about Kyrou is while, he's shown to be a very good player, that $8.125 million for 6 more years, as this cap continues to go up, that's going to be a steal. Robertson has 1 year left at a good number. It's like under $8 million, I think. But after that, he's going to be looking for insane money. So I think the move here really is to find a guy through a trade who has a good amount of years left on his deal at a good number. That is how you're going to get the savings. Tasha, I'd like Robertson over Kyrou. Again, I just talked about the money. There is a big difference there. Tasha, I'd keep our 2026 first rounder. We do have a pretty good draft lottery luck, and the Islanders won this year with 3.5%. It's just hard for me to get excited about draft picks in general, given especially where we are now. And, we got, I don't want to keep talking about it, but we turned a number 7 overall, which was Alex Holtz, a number 7 overall and a potential starting goalie in Akira Schmid. He may be a starter somewhere in this league one day. I do believe he's still not done. He's shown signs with the Devils, and I think he had some shining moments with the Golden Knights since he's moved on. We turned a number 7 overall and Akira Schmid into a 4th liner, Paul Cotter. Now, listen, I love Paul Cotter. Love you, Paulie. But when you have draft miscues like that, it further cements in my mind that I do not give a shit about these picks. Trade them for win-now pieces as the Devils. Obviously, again, a different team, different story. If you're at a different kind of trajectory or timeline of winning, but this team should 1,000,000% be win now. And so I don't care about the picks. Trade them. Trade them all. Trade them all. Tuck would be solid. I love Tuck. Collect records. 1,000% want to go for Tuck. Fitz needs to make Buffalo an offer they can't refuse. He'll crush with Jack. I would love to see it. Traveling Devil, if Palat doesn't go, get ready for a rinse and repeat season. Get ready for 10 more years of the Hughes brothers times 3. A lot of you guys like Tuck and Tage. And, there's a lot to like there. Brendan says, I really, really do not think Quinn ever wants to be here. He likes Vancouver and is the captain. The taxes here are really high, and we aren't more competitive than Vancouver. Brendan, you're missing the plot. He wants to play with his brothers, my guy. He wants to play with his brothers, and his brothers are in New Jersey. He'll have plenty of money. The taxes is an issue, but I certainly don't think he wants to be in Vancouver. As an American kid in a Canadian city and a team that, where are they really in terms of competing for a cup? I would say that the Devils are probably, at least Vegas thinks the Devils are a much better, or at least in a much better position to win a cup than Vancouver is. Mark says, Ace, the core 4 will break up when Nico decides he's done with Fitz's bumbling. I hope we don't see it, but it's a real concern of mine. One of my biggest fears is that happening, but I hope it doesn't. I hope he's, like I said, a lifelong Devil. One day we're all at the Rock clapping our asses off as the number 13 goes up to the Raptors. And again, I hope there's another Stanley Cup banner up there, at least one that he was the captain of, where they show all the beautiful video highlights of Nico getting the cup and all of that during his retirement ceremony. It would be beautiful, but you never know in this league. There's no guarantees. He's here for 2 more years. Got to try to make a push. Brandon says, I also think Luke is low 8 million. Dennis says Luke 8.75 to 9.25. Those would be very nice figures, I think, and big wins for the Devils. The lower, the better. The more team friendly, the better. But I think that range could be kind of spot on. Chico, unfortunately, Ace, I think you called it. I think it's going to be bottom 6 rework and getting the RFA signed. That's what I thought from the beginning. I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't know. Traveling Devil, if the Hughes bros can manage to stay healthy, having 3 of them taking team-friendly contracts to play together and be on a competitive team might be really good for the long run. Divas or Cup champs. Would love to see them hoist the cup together. That'd be amazing. I'll settle for just Jack and Luke. I don't need Quinn to be here. But if he wants to be here, he'll be here. How team-friendly can we get? How team-friendly can we get? Chico says, injury-prone. The Devils have been hiring guys who specifically work in injury prevention in the MLB. So hopefully that pays dividends quick. That seems like a super reach to me. I heard about that guy. I think he came from the Mariners or something. I mean, in the end, if you have injury-prone guys, what the hell? What is this guy going to do to magically make injuries stop? Again, I hope I'm wrong, but it just seems like, it seems like pipe dream stuff. Like, oh, we have this magical, this guy that's going to make guys not get hurt anymore. I think in the end, a lot of it has to do with off-season training. Get big, get nasty. But certain guys are injury-prone no matter what, and hopefully we see the end of it this year. But for a couple seasons now, we've been decimated by injury. Devil have an ace. What do you think the answer for the bottom 6 is? I mean, you got to get guys that can contribute something offensively and hopefully play with a little snarl. But we cannot have another season where the bottom 6 just produces nothing. I mean, last year, the bottom 6 for the majority of the year was just a non-factor. And, the big guns aren't going to carry you every single night. While you want them to be, performing and winning you games, there's some nights where they just don't have it, and you're going to need your depth guys to pull the weight. And on the nights that the top guys weren't going and didn't have it, the bottom 6 just laid a dud. And when that happens, that's a recipe for losses. Metalander Ace, can you call up on a screen the list of exiting UFAs and how much cap we will gain? Are you talking about for this year? We have about $14 million right now before Luke's deal. So if Luke signs for 9, we have $5 million. That's not a whole lot to get a whole lot done with. We need some more sandpaper on the bottom 6. Completely agree. Jay Snow, if he just does bottom 6, we're going to be a fringe playoff team. Other teams are getting better. I just hope that the team isn't counting on being healthy as like a major boost. Like, it would be a boost, but just being healthy is not enough. You got to be healthy and you have to bring in the extra pieces. I hope we see it. Samuel, give me 1 or 2 middle 6 guys so we can move the guys playing up now back down where they belong. It's a fair point. I mean, a lot of people were like, oh, we do have bottom 6 guys, but they were forced to play in higher roles, which to some extent is true. But even after the hot start for both Nason and Cotter, they had chances, in different spots in the lineup. Both had crazy hot starts, and then they both kind of had cold spells. We need a little more consistent production in that bottom 6. Devil Heaven says Fitzy will make this team better, just like last year. I mean, last year we had money to spend. I don't think you're going to see anything like last summer. I mean, that was just a free agent frenzy. And then the Markey trade, and then we traded for Kovacevic and for Cotter. I mean, if you're using that as the measuring stick, I think you're also going to be very disappointed. Chico, I think even with the flaws in the roster last year, if healthy, this team goes to the Eastern Conference Final. I'm willing to see what a bottom 6 retool and grit does for the team, but make in-season moves. I mean, that's obviously the biggest complaint of everybody is the in-season inactivity. Hoping and wishing in 23-24, league worst goaltending for a majority of the season. We did nothing. We get Kakinen and Allen on deadline day. It was far too late. The season was lost, and that's one that I think is an unforgivable sin. And then obviously last year, the trade deadline was super underwhelming. Cody Glass and Daniel Sprong, that's just not going to move the needle. It's just not. And you saw that it, in fact, did not move the needle. I said that on deadline day. I was furious. I felt like it was another season squandered, and it was. We made it to the playoffs. Whip-de-doo. I'm not going to, light off fireworks and celebrate a playoff berth. Some of you will. I certainly will not. Making the playoffs is not enough. That needs to be, like we've talked about. That is like, that should be a guarantee with this team. Playoffs are a guarantee. How far are you going to go? I'm not going to celebrate making the playoffs and getting pounded by the Canes in 5. It's crazy. But some of you, I get it. Some of you never experienced winning, I guess, and you didn't see the glory years. And so making the playoffs is some sort of accomplishment to you guys, but it's certainly not to me. Making the playoffs is a non-factor. Mark says Ace Fitz will end up overpaying Glass and he'll be our 3rd C. Book it. I hope not. I hope he's our 4C. But I could see him being the 3C. I also think a lot of you were sleeping on what I have to believe was an analytics find when we signed Juho Lammikko from Switzerland. Hasn't played in the league in quite some time. I'm almost positive you're going to see him on the opening night roster. Traveling Devil, the problem is turning into a cup contender doesn't happen only in the offseason. This team needs to learn how to add during the season, which the Devils never do, or wait until it's too late. I completely agree. The defending cup champs, Bill Zito, the Panthers, the defending cup champs, won the cup last year, and what do they do this season? Bill Zito's like, yeah, we won the cup, but we want to win again. He gets Seth Jones, and then at the deadline, he gets Brad Marchand. That is how you win, to Traveling Devils' point. And all the Devils' prior cup seasons, 95, 2000, 2003, Lou Lamoriello made meaningful moves in those seasons. It wasn't just, the summer before he made moves. He made moves during the season that made the team better. And when you look back at all of those years, in 95, during the season, he brought in Brott and Sean Chambers. Both had pretty big roles in winning that cup. In 2000, he brought Claude Lemieux back earlier on in the season. Then later in the season, he gets Alexander Mogilny. Both played parts in winning that cup. And then in 03, during that season, he brought in Grant Marshall, another great depth guy on the 03 Cup team. And so it's happened for all the Devils championships. You saw the Panthers this year, Seth Jones, they get Marchand at the deadline, one of their best players in the playoffs. And that's how you win. That is how you win. You don't win by just sitting back and being like, I hope they could do it. No, in-season moves. You see what the team needs, you identify a need, and you go out and execute and you get it. You bring that element in. We haven't seen it. We have not seen it, and I'm desperately hoping we do see it next year. Daniel Pino, what's going on? Thank you for the super. Some of you never experienced winning. I need that as a bumper sticker. I mean, listen, Daniel, it's the unfortunate reality. I think, for a lot of the younger fans that have never experienced winning, for whatever reason, it's some sort of moral victory to make the playoffs. And I'm here to tell you, making the playoffs means jack shit. Making the playoffs and getting pounded in the first round is nothing to be proud of. It's an indictment on the team and, the efforts being made. The fan base deserves better. The players certainly deserve better. And just making the playoffs isn't going to cut it. You got to keep pushing and improving, going through the playoff battles, getting that experience, and pushing towards a cup. And getting pounded in the first round by the Hurricanes in 5 games is not anything to celebrate. It's really not. This was another season that I will look back at forever, and it's kind of a coulda, woulda, shoulda season. Obviously the injuries did play a big part, but I hate the excuses. In the end, there should have been more reinforcements brought in at the deadline, but it is what it is. Here we are. Mark says, but thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Mark, one thing is Keefe and Fitz need to let this team run with the heavier, more violent attitude they had at the beginning of the season. This one is super strange to me, Mark, and I will say, and people think it's like, conspiracy theory and whatever else. In the first 3 months of the season, when we were one of the best teams in the league and looking like a true cup contender, the team was playing way more physical, more fighting majors, more kind of little scrums. And it seemed like, for whatever reason, as a group, they responded better and played better in those types of games. And then for whatever reason, after the Christmas break, it was like they just turned it off and we didn't see it anymore. And I'm pretty sure we almost went 3 months without a fighting major. At that point, at some point in December, we led the league in fighting majors. And then it just completely stopped. And I think we didn't see a fight for 2.5 or 3 months. Then Dilly had a fight, I believe, in Utah. But it is one of those things that it's like, where did that intensity and kind of, camaraderie go, where there was little scuffles and, I don't know. It is a weird thing. Yo Holmes says, Dawes is the current backup. It's hard not to understand here, kids. Wolf Rockin', what's going on? What's up, Ace? One question. Can you imagine a world where the Devils can beat the Panthers in a 7-game series? I've been a Devils fan since 91, but I do live in the real world, brother, later. On paper and, watching it, you would say no chance. The only thing is the Devils defense, I do think is very good and maybe to some extent underrated, because with Keefe's system, with the improved defense and with the goaltending, we were in a lot of tight games. in a lot of tight games that, could Markey steal a game or steal a series? Absolutely. Obviously, if we played the Panthers, they would be the favorite in the series, and for good reason, right? I mean, they're a great team, skill, grit, everything. Heart, great goaltending, good team. I mean, they have everything. They're the envy of the league, the gold standard. Great GM Bill Zito, great ownership group that supports everything he does. The Florida Panthers are bar none, hands down, the gold standard of the league today. 3-time Eastern Conference champions, back-to-back Cup champions. They are the gold standard and the team that everyone should be chasing. But how would the Devils beat them? Would be a little bit of luck and a little bit of hot goaltending, and you hope to squeak out 2-1, 3-2 wins. Now, again, I'm realistic too. The Panthers would be the heavy favorite, and it is different in the regular season, so I'm not trying to be that guy. But we did go to Sunrise, Florida, and beat them in back-to-back games in their barn in November. That was also, again, regular season. I get it. Totally different beast. They ratcheted up in the playoffs, and it is different. But we at least showed that we could belong to some extent, beating them twice in their own rink in November. But it would start with luck, a little luck on your side, and hot goaltending. Markey would have to steal probably multiple games, but it's not impossible. It wouldn't be impossible, but it'd be unlikely. Unlikely, but not impossible. Joe Cade, thanks for the super chat. This is despite your disdain for Chavez. That's in reference to the Jake Paul circus fight that we all witnessed last night, or some of you. Jake Paul fought a washed-up, well past his prime boxer, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and I will give Jake Paul no credit for the victory, but that is a reference to that. But thank you, Joe Cade. Appreciate that. Chico, my only concern with Dougie trade is I think we'd be selling a little low on him since he did get hurt and he didn't have a chance to fully bounce back. If it's me, I'd give Dougie the camp in the first couple months of the season and then see who's biting for what. I think in the end, I can see what you're saying, Chico, but at this point, depending on what other moves the Devils are trying to make, I don't, and because of the $9 million, like, I don't know that the Devils, again, it depends on what they have planned for that money beyond, right? But I don't think the Devils will be looking for a ton for him. And I think a lot of people, and maybe even the organization, again, situationally depending, may be happy with just moving his salary off in like a cap dump type move to be able to facilitate a move afterwards. And so I get what you're saying. And if they were to trade him, I would like it to be in a meaningful move. But if it is just a salary dump to free up money to then make a meaningful move, I would be okay with that. So I would have to kind of look at the whole kind of chain of events. If it's just a salary dump to kind of start the first domino to make something else happen, I'd be okay with it. And so I think some people might be surprised by that, but you might see, if that's the case, they might do a move like that just to be able to use that $9 million for something else in a separate deal. Samuel, the core needs a mash unit to get us past the first round. Tasha said, I feel like if Fitz gets Kyrou, he'll vastly overpay. Well, I mean, what is vastly overpay? There's going to be tons of teams making offers for Kyrou, and it's certainly not going to be cheap. It certainly will be costly. But again, good player. And the other huge thing going for him and his value is that he signed for 6 more seasons at $8.125 million. There's going to be a lot of guys that are way lesser players than Kyrou probably making close to that. Jack, I don't want players with lengthy injury histories. None. Druin is always hurt. Last thing we need. Fair point, but if it's a cheap deal, I think it's a risk I would take. Yo, Holmes says Mercer is 23. There is no reason to trade him whatsoever. If it was for a guy like, if it was part of a package though, for a guy like Tuck, Yo, Holmes, I'm not saying to trade him for the sake of trading him. I like Dawson Mercer, but in the end, I do think some of these, undersized forwards is a bit redundant on our team. And I do want some of that scrit. I do want some beef. And I think Tuck would be a great player to play with Jack. I really do. And if Mercer could be a part of that deal, I would look at it for sure. Devils Hawk says July 16th, the NHL schedule releases. Yeah, it seems a little late this year. Chico, I wouldn't mind having Lazar back. The dude gives 1,000,000,000% every shift. I agree with that to some extent, but But then also, Chico, at some point, like, I feel like, Palat, and to some extent Tatar too. Like, listen, they're heart and soul guys that give it their all every shift. But at some point, I don't think that's enough. We need some production to go with that heart. That's probably the Jack breakaway goal in the OT. Yo, Holmes, Fitz sucks. How is that even a question? Missed every deadline and overpaid for every FA. Fitz is a clown. Tell us how you really feel. Tell us how you really feel, Yo, Holmes. Walt, off subject. Was it really necessary to have a celebrity for every first-round pick Friday? 4.5 hours is insane. I need to trim the fat from next year's draft broadcast. Good grief. Yeah, I thought it was a little corny. Some of them were pretty fringe celebrities. Like, at this point, Tom Green. Like, Tom Green is the I think that's the definition of like a D-list celebrity. No offense to Tom Green. He had his time. He was fairly popular like 20 years ago. But like, I'm sure many kids watching were like, who the hell is this Tom Green guy? And they probably had to look him up. But I do think it is a little corny. I do think the NHL is trying a little too hard to appeal to the casual fan, perhaps. And I thought the whole thing of not having the teams there and doing the whole video thing, I thought it was complete shit. I thought that format was awful, and I hope we never see it again. Not only was it awful, it, like you said, well, it made it way too long, and it was just like, my God. It just seemed like a total debacle. Go back to the old way. Have every team have their station on the arena, have the GM or whoever's announcing the pick go up, give the guy the jersey, take the photos, do it the old school way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Doing all this shit with technology and having them on the screen and the celebrity intro, completely nonsense. But I will say, the only thing that was awesome about it was my man Adam Sandler, a.k.a. Happy Gilmore, announcing the Bruins pick. I thought that was awesome. But the rest of it was tragic. Tragic. Samuel says Dano's first game feels like yesterday. Jay Snow, this core's window is wide open right now. Fitz has to act like it. Completely agree. The time to win is now. I felt that way since the 22-23 season, and the time to win is now. I don't want to hear about the future being bright. Who knows what the future brings? The future needs to be right now and maneuver like you are truly trying to win now. Tasha said it wasn't even a celebrity for everyone. Yeah, some of them were super reaches. Super reach. Chico says, I don't want to pick in the first round for the next 5 years. I'm right with you. Trade all of them. Known commodities. Walt says celebrities, and you might know this person. They just do not need 28 out of 32 teams having a special guest doing the announcements. They drag things out to a ridiculous length. Completely agree. Probably one of the worst drafts I've ever seen in terms of like production or setup, whatever you want to call it. Completely unnecessary, in my opinion, and go back to the old way. Amagi says firstborn for Tage. Would love Thompson. If the Devils are in the race for McKenna, then heads need to roll. If we're talking about getting the first overall pick, it's a wrap. I don't even know what I would do at that point. Chico, Fitz does better when he doesn't have a first-round pick. I really think he just overthinks that first one too much. It seems like the organization loves drafting with the picks. I mean, I wanted to trade the number 2 pick when we had it, when we drafted Nemitz. And again, Shane Wright or Logan Cooley, I think the team's in a much better position today. But I wanted to trade that for immediate help. Immediate help. Joe Cade, hit the like for Ace. Yeah, thanks. Hit the thumbs up for your boy. Hit the thumbs up. Chico says Jack just needs to be 100% for a playoff run, and this team has a shot at the whole thing. That alone is not going to be enough, Chico. And even if he's 100% for the playoffs, does he stay 100%? Playoffs are war. And I know a lot of those pictures have been floating around social media. There was the Bauer hockey one, as well as a picture of him out and about somewhere at a bar or something down the shore. And he needs to get bigger. I mean, this is not a myth. I don't know why people refuse to believe that size matters in this league, but you cannot be super undersized and play the game that he plays and not expect the injuries to happen. And he hasn't played a full 82 yet. I hope at some point he does, bulk up a little bit and becomes a little more resilient, because the track record right now is 6 seasons in the league and not one 82 games played has not happened yet. Chico, Florida's third line was outscoring other teams' first lines in this playoff run. Depth is everything in hockey. Yeah, solid team. Top to bottom. What's up, Brandon? Winnipeg travel bot. Taves to Jets is this offseason's biggest move. Ace, are the NJ restaurants shows coming, and do Devils fans regret not trading for Hellebuck? I'm working on some stuff with the food stuff. I'm hoping that I get some of that out soon. Lots of stuff in the works. A lot of things take time to get off the ground and get moving, but I am working on that for the summer. And I made a video. It's on the channel in my early studio, the prehistoric version of the studio. I wanted Hellebuck badly. When that first came up, even though, listen, Hellebuck has had his playoff follies, but in the end, multiple-time Vezina winner, great regular seasons. I think it's only a matter of time before he puts it together in the playoffs. But I love having an ace stud goaltender. I'm from the Lou Lamoriello school of you build a team from the net out. And when those rumors were floating around, I firmly was on record saying, go get Hellebuck if he's available. I wanted him. I love Markey, and I'm glad we have him now. But Hellebuck, obviously dominant goaltender that we would have had for a long time going forward. And I was all in on getting him. Didn't happen. Was not in the cards. Jay Snow, we need to get to an Eastern Conference Finals this year. I would love that. But we will see. We will see. Cristiano, in the bottom six were performing during the first half. We were one of the best teams in the league. There was a lot of things happening when we were one of the best teams in the league before that fateful holiday break. After that home and home with the Hurricanes, it all went to shit. Pyro, always any update on getting Peluso on the show? I'm trying. AVA 78, Panthers are the gold standard. Roll all four lines in attack. We need more depth. Could not agree more. Yo, Holmes, AVA 78. That's how NJ won 3 cups. NJ is the original roll four lines team. And in 95, that first cup, my guys, the crash line, what a huge part of it. Mike Peluso, Bobby Holik, Randy McKay, legends. If you haven't seen it for the older fans, or if you just want to kind of watch an interesting interview, I did an interview with Randy McKay. That's on the channel. 95 and 2000 Cup champ with your New Jersey Devils. An old school throwback, just absolute beauty, Randy McKay. That interview's on the channel. If you haven't seen that, check that out. Mark, Lou was a gambler during those cup runs. He traded Ralston, Guerin, Arnott, Sikora, and others, and that's when they were in their prime. Exactly. I've said this multiple times now. I don't think you truly move a team forward without making trades that are somewhat painful to make. And all of those trades you referenced, you were like, ooh, like Ralston was a 95 Cup champ with the Devils, young, promising player, and he got dealt to bring Claude Lemieux back. Guerin was part of the Arnott trade. Everyone loved Billy G, another 95 Cup champ. And Arnott came here, won a cup with us in 2000, center of the A-line, scored the goal to win the cup over my head here. He was a huge part of that. And then Arnott gets dealt with Randy McKay, both fan favorites, franchise legends, get dealt to Dallas to bring in Jamie Langenbrunner and Joe Neuendijk, and those guys played a big part in the 03 season and the 03 Cup. And likewise with Sikora, 2000 Cup champ dealt for Jeff Friesen. These cups don't happen without these moves. And so you have to make tough decisions. And I feel like Fitz has not made one of those deals yet. Yeah, he brought in Timo Meier, but there was nothing truly painful about the trade, at least to me. People are like, oh, we shouldn't have traded Zetterlund, whatever. Trading prospects and picks is nowhere near the same as trading made guys. And these are all trades that Lou made, sending away made guys where people question the trade even at the time because you're like, whoa. It has a little bit of a shock factor to it. Those are the types of trades that really win cups. And Zito did it in Florida. Huberdeau and all those pieces to bring in Matthew Tkachuk, and look at them now. And so, you know, it's nice to make trades that seem easier where you're giving up a bunch of littler things or things that aren't significant at the time, future pieces. But the real trades that shake up teams and really push them ahead are the trades with known guys that sting a little bit. If there's no sting, then the trade really wasn't that impactful, in my opinion. Josh, can't wait for the day we see Nico, Bratt, Jack lift the cup. Oh, I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. Select a boy, that is true. Why did they go soft after Christmas? If we only knew. It's the multi-million-dollar question. Chico says, Ari, the post-Christmas collapse. My theory is injuries started piling up and they just never had a chance to get their footing again. It's possible. It's possible. Yeah. Devils Hawk. Devils beat the Panthers in Game 7 in 2012. What a run that was. That was Adam Henrique's first heroic moment. Yo, Holmes, Ace, what are we going to do with McDermott? Keith hates him, and Fitzgerald overpaid and overtenured him like everything else. Yeah, I like McDermott. I thought he brings an element. I would have liked to see him play a little bit more. His playing time got less and less. It seems like Keith's not a big fan. I think you could pretty much bury, if not his whole contract, almost the entire thing in the minors. And so I don't know why they don't do that. It might get looked at this year. Core of Clips, any chance Marchand signs the Devils? I can't see it. I would be ecstatic. He'd be super high on my want list. I would even be willing to overpay him. But I don't even know if we're going to be in on him. And if we are, I don't know that he'd even want to come here. Why would you want to leave Florida? The team's amazing. You're in Florida. Beautiful weather. No state taxes. Like, I feel like we would have to offer something completely outlandish for him to even consider it. Chico, I'm holding out hope that we do Dougie plus for Quinn, but I think the Canucks are going all in on begging him to stay, which won't work. No, I think that's what they're doing too. But at some point, I think they're going to have to be like, okay, our pitch is falling on deaf ears. It's time to cash in. But I think that they should be realistic and kind of do that now. The most value they're going to get for him is now. Or I guess he would still have a tremendous value even next offseason or at the trade deadline this season. But the longer you're giving him to a team for, the more you're going to get for him. And so, if they really believe and come to the realization that he's not going to stay there, they got to cash him in. It would be completely insane for them not to. Chico, I like Dawson Mercer. I think he gets too much shit from a certain portion of this fan base. I only trade him for a clear upgrade, though. I agree. I don't want to trade him for the sake of trading him. I do like him, but if you could put him in a package for a guy like Tuck or something like that, or a Kyrou, I'm doing it without thinking about it, with no hesitation. Tasha, I sure hope Fitz wasn't one of the GMs who voted for the decentralized draft. Yeah, I'm curious what the perceived benefit of that was. I don't know. Tasha, the draft house looked like something out of the Wizard of Oz. Random man, go back to 1 versus 8 versus playoffs. Oh, tell him. I think there was a poll on Twitter at some point. I don't know. I feel like it was like maybe right before the playoffs started. The new playoff format is absolute trash. I absolutely hate it. And so do all fans. Go back to the regular 1 through 8. Division winners get the top seeds automatically. And then you reseed after that. 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, and then highest and lowest for every round after. Way better. And there was a poll about it, like I said, on Twitter, and it was like 98%, I think, said that they preferred the 1 versus, that format versus the new format. I think everyone's tired of seeing the same kind of forced matchups and these fake, just change it. That should be at the top of the list for the NHL in terms of clear things to improve, because I think everyone wants to see that. Let me just. Devils Hogs is an indication of Atlanta getting a team for the 28-29 season. Yeah, expansion talks. Expansion talks have been kind of heating up. Everyone's speculating it'll be Atlanta. It is a little interesting that they're going to be maybe the first market to now get an expansion team, given that they already were there with the Thrashers. I don't really care too much about this topic, where the expansion team goes. There was talks about Houston. Obviously, there's some other Canadian markets that get thrown in the mix, but it seemed like Atlanta and Houston have been the front runners for a while. And, if they do it, I hope it works out. I would go check out a game there. That's a much easier travel than some of the other cities out there, but I do want to get to Utah eventually. People talking about heavyweight boxing. Yo, Holmes, you haven't seen the recent heavyweight resurgence. Fury, Wilder, Joshua, Usyk. Yeah, I mean, I still can't get excited about that. To me, the Yo Holmes, that's still nowhere near like the Holyfields, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson's. But I mean, I get it. Boxing has taken such a dive over the years, in my opinion. Like mixed martial arts has clearly taken it over. Traveling Devil Ace, give us a preview of the show the day Nico gets traded walks. Oh no, I can't even do that to myself. I can't do that to myself, man. It'd be terrible. What's going on, Jeff? Dire Wolf, it really sucks. Jack has been injured the last 2 years, hasn't been able to work skills in bulk. He's going to need another 20 on him. I would settle for 10. 20 would be phenomenal. Thanks, Jeff. Hit the like for your boy one time. One time. Samuel says the Devils have the number 1 pick. I'm moving back to Florida and buying seasons for the Panthers. Mark, our team really needs better conditioning. 2 straight seasons of dogging it in the first period is unacceptable. We did see a lot of slow starts. Hopefully, I hate to say it, I do think the modern players don't nearly work as hard in the offseason or even within the season as some of the other guys, the older guy. Like, just look at Yager's training, shooting tires. The guy's shooting tires at 50-something years old. I don't want to get off on this tangent, but I wish we could hire Jaromir Jagr as like a strength and conditioning / special skills coach, because that guy was a beast. The stories about Yager's training and some of the things he would do on a regular basis were just not even human at an old age as well. Dire Wolf, also Ace, your McKay video is awesome. Glad to see him get some love. He's my all-time favorite Devil. You need to get Chico next. Yeah, thanks, man. Love Randy, one of my favorites as a kid. It was awesome talking to him. 2-time Cup champ. Love talking to those types of guys. You know, those guys anytime I can. And Randy was a great time. So if you haven't seen that, check it out on the channel. Come playoffs, Markey better than Hellebuck. I mean, yeah, so far. But Hellebuck also has a lot of miles left. A lot of miles left on his career. ED, we need a power forward. Going to say it until I'm blue in the face. I completely agree. Would love Tuck. Would love Tuck. Would love anyone who fits the bill. But Tuck is certainly high on my list, and I think it's somewhat realistic. Zach Hyman type. Hyman, clone, Hughes, Bratt would terrorize the Metro. I'm not mad at that. Robert, get Marty on the show. Oh, if it was only that easy, Robert. Hopefully one day. Hopefully one day. Devil Heaven, I think Holyfield Tyson 3 was the last good brawl. These kids today don't understand. Different era, man. 90s is peak civilization. I've talked about this on the program. Sports, movies, television shows, music, just everything. Life, human civilization as we know it, peaked in the 90s. And there's nothing, peaked in the 90s, and that's it. There's nothing more to say. Chico, Mike Peluso was so overcome with emotion winning the cup that he couldn't even get on the ice for the last shift. That is a warrior. Love me some Mike Peluso. Another one of my favorites as a kid. Part of that crash line. That was a big part of that 95 cup win. Peluso was an animal. Tasha, wish there were at least any rumors on what the Devils are doing right now, but there's absolutely nothing after Halla. I'm not too concerned about it. Hopefully something materializes, but you know, a lot of times things come out of left field and there was no rumors. Hopefully we see something. Chico, Lou understood that sometimes a locker room needs a shakeup, even if it's a lateral move. People get too comfortable after a while. It's human nature. Lou always had his finger on the pulse of the team. Tasha, Ace, would you want to bring Lou as a GM now? No, I wouldn't. Love Lou Lamoriello, the architect, 3-time Cup champ. We owe everything to Lou. But I would certainly bring him back in some capacity, not as the GM, maybe as some sort of, I don't know, one of these executive roles that they find for guys. Would love to have him around the team. I think, at this point, there's better options for GM if the Devils, in fact, are searching for another one at some point. And if they do, I hope it's Marty. I will take the risk with Marty. If in fact Fitz is ever let go, give Marty the keys and let's see what he could do with it. Devil Heaven Ace just watching the 95 Cup champs the other night with Peeps. Yeah, 30 years. 30 years have gone by. Completely insane. Jeff, it sucks that we built this team for speed a la Colorado Avalanche model, only for Florida to show you don't have to be a fast team to win the last few years. I mean, they have their fair share of speed as well, but in the end, you need warriors, dogs. You need the doggy dogs up and down the lineup, and that's how you win. Teams that will do anything to win. Hit people, take hits, block shots, get to the dirty areas, get to the front of the net, make people uncomfortable. And they got those guys. Khalil, Ace, mid-June, people on Instagram made so mad we were going to get Jason Robertson. I used to believe we were going to get the best players, but Fitz makes it seem hard to trade Mercer, Hamilton, and Palat. Well, I mean, it is not super easy. I do think they could be traded in separate deals. But you know, I'm not gonna really kill Fitz for not making any of these moves just yet, because the 10-team pre-approved trade lists kick in on July 1 for Dougie and Palat. So it was unlikely anything was going to happen before then. The best chances of either of those guys being moved is going to happen on or after July 1st when that 10-team pre-approved trade list kicks in. We'll see what happens. I don't have huge expectations. I know a lot of you do. I certainly don't, but we'll see. We shall see. Yo, Holmes, 95 deadline trades. Neil Broughton, American legend, captain of Dallas, and Sean Chambers, the Lightning top D pairing. Only sad part was trading Fetisov away. And you saw that embrace. He was on the losing side in the 95 Cup Finals. Everyone giving him an extra long hug when he was a member of that Wings team that we swept. General consensus is the draft format sucked. I would imagine. Chico, I'm convinced Bettman forced the stupid format in because they wanted to use the word wild card like baseball. It's stupid. Just go back to the old one. Go back to the old format. Bring back the whale. Hartford Whalers. Yeah, I feel bad for their fans too. Or the Nords. Quebec. Damn, you think the NHL is targeting 40 teams, huh? That seems like a little too much. I think 32 is good, honestly. Yeah, Select the Boy says we don't need to expand any further than 32. But yeah, if there's going to be a 33, you know there's going to be a 34. 40 would be wild. I did forget about them. Don't forget the Flames. Yeah, Flames or Atlanta before going to Calgary. Maybe if Atlanta gets another team, they'll eventually be moved to Quebec. That'd be pretty funny. Khalil, how do you feel about the NHL talking about making the NHL season 84 games? All I know is the Devils are, if they have an 84-game season, because he sure can't play a full season in Hughes Bros. I mean, they're taking some games off the preseason to kind of balance it. I don't necessarily like it. I think the 82-game schedule is pretty lengthy as it is. The main reason I don't like it is because it is going to affect records. You know, single season wins records for goalies, single season points records, single season goals records. Any single season record now, there's 2 extra games. I'm not a huge fan of that because I think it kind of alters history, and I just would prefer for it to stay the same. But 2 extra games on an already long season, I don't like it. And again, with the thing about the records, I'm not a fan. I think they should have left it at 82, but owners are greedy, and I'm not shocked. Chico, I hate the idea of going to an 84-game season. It's too many damn games. I agree. Do an in-season tournament like the NBA does. I don't like that. I think that's corny. I don't want them to continue to look for gimmicks. I feel like an in-season tournament is a gimmick. Like, I don't know why every league and they keep trying all these things. Like, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Phil says Bleacher Report has linked Cairo to 5 teams, one being the Devils. Would love to see it happen. Reggie, Ace, have you done the Hall of Fame in Toronto? Yes, my lovely mother brought me when I was a kid because I begged to go. That was probably in the late 90s, I want to say. I went as a child, and then I made a return in 2018. I went to the Hall of Fame for the great Martin Brodeurs induction weekend, and that was just phenomenal to see Marty inducted and all the hockey royalty that I was rubbing elbows with at all the festivities and just seeing the guys all over. It was a great time. Highly recommend the Hall of Fame for anyone who has not been there. If you are a big hockey fan, the Hall of Fame in Toronto is a must visit. And the city of Toronto is pretty cool as well. Chico, Lou deserves a statue outside the Rock. He's the only reason we have the Devils still. I'd be fine with him having a lifetime like advisor role or something too. Yeah, it makes sense. And I think he should get the statue. Tosh, the lifetime advisor role would only last a couple of years, but that's a thought. Am I the only Devils fan that means Tyler Toffoli? I don't know what that means. The ship has sailed on Toffoli, in my opinion. It was a fun memory. He was here for that time. I'll remember him fondly. Maria, the only thing good about Atlanta is the airport, having lived there myself. Interesting. Only the airport, huh? Samuel says the owners get to split $1 billion for every new team. Wow. It's like what, about $30 million bucks a team. It's pretty wild to see what the franchise values of NHL teams have become over the years. Way, way up since not even that long ago. Selected Boy says, I hate the play-in tournaments they're doing in the NBA. Brendan, our bottom six is abysmal. Need an immediate fix there. That has to be the focus. Markstrom not getting younger, and our top two lines play great when healthy. Fitz needs to attack those bottom six for sure. But I want to see a top six guy too. But it's probably asking for too much. Enough with Toffoli. I'm kind of there too. Robert, before I die, I want to see a forward get a goal, then get in net and win a game. Like as in a goalie. Houston, I think, will get a team eventually. Houston has been kind of rumored, I feel like, for a while. It's kind of a metropolis kind of city with a lot going on. I think Houston, if Atlanta does in fact get the next one, I would think the odds-on favorites to get the next team after that would be Houston. Michael, yo, Ace, have you lost some weight? You look good, brother. Thanks, man. Yeah, I did a little bit. Hockey season, I feast a lot and drown my sorrows in liquor, as you all know. Win or lose, we booze. And, hockey season was unkind to me, gorging myself with the food and the beverages. Summertime, got to get it right, try. But I appreciate that Michael did trim down a little bit for the summertime. Yo, Holmes, Ace, I would like to see Cotter as center 3. Thoughts, please. I'm not opposed to it. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I'm conflicted about it because in the end, what I really would do, and this might sound crazy, I would ask him straight up, do you feel more comfortable playing wing or center? I would straight up ask him, because if he says wing, then what do you do, right? If the guy's telling you he feels like he's better on the wing, then I would want to keep him there. Now, if he said, I want to try center, I like center, then I'm all for it. I think you got to at least put the guys where they feel most comfortable and then surround them with guys that they could perform with. But I certainly would give him a crack if he wanted to do it. I think he did, he played some time there, right? With all the injuries, he did play a little center. Not a ton, but he did play some last year. It's certainly not a terrible idea. Jason, Nason and Palat don't belong in the top 6, obviously. I think Nason's a great third-line player, and Palat could be a good third-line player, but, everyone's kind of on the watch to see if he's going to be returned next year. Evan, Kyrou, Tuck, Kempe, these are guys I love. Robertson, Dorofayev, and Pipe Dream, Tage Thompson. I feel like we need one big splash guy working the bottom 6. What can Fitz do? Surprise us diehards. Yeah, obviously, salary's going to have to go out. Tage Thompson would be just a wild dream for me, but I would be ecstatic with Tuck. I really would. Jeff, we have so much money tied up in our defense with Luke Dew got to move Dougie to make any significant move up front outside of Palat getting dealt. Mark, the benefit of an in-season tournament is the Rangers would definitely raise a banner if they won. So obviously, that's kind of a joke alluding to after they won the President's Trophy in 23-24, James Dolan insisted on them having a banner put up that said regular season champions. Regular season champions, which is kind of psychotic. Michael, I like to see Cotter as center 4. I wouldn't mind that either. I do think, because we've seen the flashes of Cotter's hands and his ability to score at times, I would like to see him get third line ice time as opposed to fourth, but that could just be me liking him too much, and maybe he is way better as a fourth line guy. I think he'd be a very good fourth line guy, but I would like to see if he could maybe do a little more in a third line role. Ace, you firing up the grill once in a while. I'm a big red meat guy, burgers and steak, especially in the summertime. Brendan, hey, Ace, can you see Robertson from Dallas on the top line and Palat traded for a bottom 6 like Jared McCann? Well, Palat would be probably more than likely dumped in a separate deal to free up the money. But I don't think you're going to see both of those things. I would be pretty happy with one of them in conjunction with some smaller moves. But I think a guy like Robertson and McCann is asking for a lot. Yo, Holmes Cotter was interviewed, said he played center his entire career until recently. No, I get it. But I would be curious to know, like, what is his preference as of right now? Jay Snow, once we sign Luke, we're going to have almost $40 million tied up on our back end. That's crazy. But again, it is at the moment. But Dougie is not here long term. So it's only a matter of time. At some point, he will be traded. That is just, it's an inevitability. Whether it's at the deadline this year or maybe before the season, obviously, we might see it in the next few days. At the deadline this year or next offseason, at some point, we're not going to have two defenders making that kind of money. Yeah, not sustainable at that much money on D. Rangers, regular season champs. In what world is McCann a bottom sixer and probably would ever want Palat for him? Yeah, not in the same deal. And again, yeah, he wouldn't be on our bottom 6 for sure. McCann would be a top 6 guy on the Devils for sure and every other team. Rangers are going to make moves. They're going to be better this year. The Devils cannot be content. Well, I mean, they should never be content, period. You always got to try to keep it pushing. Is anyone else fired up to bully Zegras on the regular now that he's in Philly? A lot of people wanted him. I didn't, obviously, as you know. I don't want that type of player. It will be interesting to see him as a divisional foe now. Samuel, who else besides Cotter had 16 goals playing only third and fourth line minutes? Yeah, I do think they have to give him a little bit more of an opportunity. I would like to see him like as a third line regular, I think. But it obviously all depends on what the other pieces are that are brought in and what our lineup looks like going into battle. Thoughts on Patrick Kane on a potential 1 by $5 million? I can't see it happening, but I would certainly do that. Anyone who's a legend who has won, I feel like even if they don't bring a ton of production, which I think he would bring production, to have him mentor some of our young guys and have him around, I think there's a tremendous value in that. Obviously, I would like to see him put up a lot of points too, but again, I think that's a total pipe dream. I don't think we'll even inquire on him, nor would I think he would want to come here. I like the randoms. Hey, Ace, top 3 favorite bands. Top 3 favorite bands. Does it have to be a band, or are you talking musicians? Or if you're talking bands, does it have to be a band? Because I don't like a ton of bands. I mean, I don't know that I listen to regularly. Bands, yeah, bands is kind of it's an interesting one. I have one in my head right away. You guys are funny in the comments. Yeah, clarify. Tasha, Ace, thoughts on our division rivals getting better and making big moves to potentially make the playoffs next year? I mean, what am I going to say? Every team tries to get better every season. Teams have varying levels of success doing it, whether that's trades, free agent signings, whatever it is. Obviously, the Devils haven't done much yet, but I didn't expect much before July 1st because of the situation with Palat and Dougie. And so hopefully we try to get better too when these guys are able to be moved to their 10-team pre-approved trade list. Kane is working out in New Jersey for what it's worth. I don't think it's worth much, but I'm curious. What is the details on that, and where did you see that? I don't think I saw that. Steven says Kane likes Jack. He'll come here. I don't know if that's enough. And I thought I saw some rumors that he was going to stay in Detroit. Brendan, dreams can happen. You never know what teams are willing to accept bad contracts like Palat. I certainly think there could be a buyer somewhere for him. The Andrew, I've heard Kuzi wants back, looking for a deal. Could get him cheap too. Yeah, Kuznetsov. I did see that rumor as well. I'd be somewhat intrigued by that, depending on what the dollar figure is. Top 3 groups. In Sync, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees. Now, I got to really think about that one for a minute. Robert says Pink Floyd. Yo, Holmes, AC/DC, Sublime, Pantera. Samuel says bands no longer sell. It's all individuals. I know, it's a crazy, like, I'm trying to think. I have my number one favorite band is the Dave Matthews Band. I know a lot of people are going to hate on me for that, but I just like the Dave Matthews Band a lot. But yeah, in terms of like newer bands, like people, like it's pretty much like Samuel says, it's like an individual, and like they all have bands, but they're just kind of like interchangeable pieces. Like it'll be a singer and he has whatever guys in his band, but they're not necessarily, like it's not like the old school bands where the guys were defined. I'm thinking about that. Devil Heaven says, I'm going Maiden, Priest, Metallica, so many. Samuel, record companies hate bands, too many personalities, and they are harder to control. And then you obviously have infighting. Kane isn't wasting his last year in Buffalo. I can't see that either. I'd imagine he'd want to win a cup, but maybe he likes it in Detroit. All right, guys, it's that time for me to take a bathroom break real quick. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I'll start winding this down. Any other comments, questions? I do like the suggestions. If you have any suggestions, throw that out there. Comments, questions, suggestions, closing thoughts. And I'll slowly start to bring this puppy to the end here. We're not done yet, though. Usually it ends going for a little while at this juncture. But appreciate all of you joining. I'll be back, and we'll start getting to the end of this thing. Be back in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Wait, I gotta go H2O. All right. You guys are still talking about bands. I'm still trying to think. I mean, I don't know. That's not an easy one. Bands. I definitely like Bush. Bush was amazing. They used to play a lot of Bush bangers in at Devils games back in the day. That album 16 Stone, for you young kids, if you don't know who Bush is, I highly recommend it. Check out that album 16 Stone. Bush would definitely be up there for me. Shout out to Gavin Rosdale. Jay Snow, Cody Glass can have serious interest, supposedly. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, like someone pointed out earlier, like centers are valuable. They're not easy to find. Cody Glass might get paid and we might lose him. I mean, if that's the case, they're going to have to find somebody else. Robert, no ace, drink a Red Bull, pull an all-nighter. I stopped drinking Red Bulls. Back in the day, I used to drink a lot of Monster Energy, and then one of my friends told me to switch to iced coffee. So there is a lot of junk in those things. I'm trying not to ingest poison regularly. It's a story for another day. Tasha, any thoughts on who Fitz will maybe land, if anybody at all, this free agency? I've said from the beginning, I expect a somewhat renovation of the bottom six and nothing really substantial. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I was never expecting much. I thought it was going to be a Luke Hughes extension, and and I thought that was going to be mostly the headline thing. Luke Hughes extension, some bottom six pieces, and that'll be your offseason. I would love to be wrong, but Jerky Boys, hey, there's Sizzle Chest. I think it was Chisel Chest, wasn't it? Chisel Chest. We have no cap space. That's the thing. Without another big move happening, that's all it can be, is Luke Hughes and some bottom six guys. NHL 94, what a classic. I remember that on the Genesis like it was yesterday. I used to play till my thumbs bled, smashing the buttons. Classic. And then when you splatter a guy with the hit, he was laid out on the ice. Man, one of the greatest hockey games ever. Khalil, I wonder if Ovechkin going to get 920 or 935 goals because it's his last year. He's definitely going to put some. He's going to put some pucks in the net until he stops. Nirvana, it's another good one. Biggest free agent prediction for the Devils, or for the Devils? I have no big predictions, because my prediction is that you're not going to see anything splashy. It is what it is. Brendan, Fitz should be fired for not taking Lundell or Rossi over Holtz in 2020. Rossi is a great player, and Lundell, great third-line center for Florida, and Holtz is doing nothing in Vegas. It was a bad pick. It is what it is. You can't win them all, but that one, that's a pretty glaringly big whiff, in my opinion, at number 7. Yeah, you turn Alex Holtz and a potential starting goaltender in Akira Schmid into Cotter. Love Cotter, but you don't want to use a number 7 overall pick and a potential starting goalie in this league for Paul Cotter. That's just not great asset management. I used to drink Monster a lot. Monster was the jam of like artificial BS. Wonder when the Luke extension will happen. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes on for a while. I mean, we saw it with Mercer. With Luke, it could be way more complex. I hope I'm wrong, but, they could be far apart on that long-term number. They still play Everything Zen at games. Do they? I don't recall that. Love that whole album's great. 16 Stone, kids. Check it out. Prime Bore or Prime Kovalchuk? I'll always go with the bigger guy, Kovalchuk, but Bore was electric on the Canucks and for some years on the Panthers as well. Yo, Holmes says, Brendan, we could do this all day about Fitz draft day blunders. Blades of Steel, another OG one. Husky, we need to dress Jack in football equipment, or you could just get bigger. Yo, Holmes, back in college in early 2000s, we used to host huge NHL 94 tournaments. Good times. What a great game. Selected boy Mercer seriously needs to go back to what made him great before. Well, he's a guy that I think could have a big kind of bounce back season, maybe. We'll see. We shall see. Will he get another audition in a top 6? Or not? Or does he get dealt for an upgrade? I'm not against it, but I don't want to trade him just for the sake of trading him. He has value to the team, but, if there is a clear upgrade to be had, I would not be against it, personally. Robert, NHL 99, best intro, gives me chills. Great save, Joseph. Is that the one? Is NHL 99? Was that the one? All your weight, it falls on me. It brings me down. Was that 99, Robert? All the years blend together for me. Maybe that was way after. Khalil, it's crazy. The recent first-round picks are bad. The best ones were Hughes and Heischer. Yeah, they were number 1 overalls. I mean, you can't whiff on number 1 overalls, and those were the consensus picks at the time, and so it's hard to give anyone credit for those per se, because that would have been the pick that pretty much every team would have made. And it is crazy, the fall off from the number 1 to number 2, right? It's like Nico's year, the Flyers took Nolan Patrick, who's out of the league. And then Jack and Capo Caco. The Rangers had him forever. They finally dealt him, but those are substantial drop-offs from a number 1 to a number 2. Devil have an ace. What are we talking about? Luke deal, term deal? I think most people are expecting him to be signed long-term. And at this point, on a long-term deal, it could be anywhere from that probably $8.5 to $10 million range. Hopefully lower the better. Team friendly, but we don't know, and we'll find out. I'm hoping it's closer to $9 million. Jay Snow, if we don't get out of the second round, Fitz has to go. His core's window is wide open. They need to act like it. I've been saying that since 22-23. Tasha, Luke was good too. That's about it. And again, that was pretty much a no-brainer as well. He was high on everyone's draft board. His brother was here, so it's like how much thought really went into that pick? Like that was an obvious pick for the Devils. You were taking Luke Hughes there. I think Nemitz is going to be a good player, but in the end, I do think Cooley or Wright at center would be better for this team right now in terms of winning now. One of those centers would help us more than Nemitz. I do think Nemitz is going to be a good player, but he wasn't the best guy to take at the time. I will maintain that. I think he's going to be a great player. Yo, Holmes, if Ball's making $5 million plus, doesn't that mean Luke is a $9 million plus guy now? You could make the argument that with the cap going up, Luke is worth 11. But you got to leave some meat on the bone, especially if you want your brother to come here and not handcuff the Devils. You gotta be as team friendly as possible, and hopefully that looks more like $8.5 million. Would be nice. He'd be a legend to sign an 8.5 deal, but he might not. We're never gonna know until it happens. We could speculate all we want. Jason, I hope we trade Mercer for someone with size. That's my thought process. Get a big guy. We need a new element. We need size and we need power. Anthony Thomas, who is our backup goalie in 25-26, Allen or Dawes? It might be neither, honestly. It seems like the team doesn't want to commit to Dawes in that spot. I don't see any way we can afford Allen. If I had to pick, I would say the backup is probably going to be a veteran brought in from the outside. Devil Heaven, I love the NHL, best sport on the earth. Completely agree. Cale Makar was also almost drafted by the Devils. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, they considered him, obviously. He was a top player in that draft. He was on everyone's draft board with a high pick. They decided to go with Nico, which was a very good pick. Obviously, Cale Makar is an out-of-this-world defenseman. But, when you were in the spot the Devils were in, does Cale Makar move the needle at that time? I don't know. But obviously they were considering him. Evan, I'm thinking Marner winds up potentially in Vegas, a team that takes a lot of swings. I'm a hard pass on Marner. So many better options. Carolina and Anaheim clubs potentially expected active. Vegas is a team that's trying to win. They're in on everybody every year. They're always rumored to be in on everyone. They exposed the LTIR loophole while it was still there. They are a team trying to win every single season, and you got to respect it. What are we thinking total on cap space by July 1? Well, we don't have much, and that's not going to change unless Palat or Dougie are moved. Even if Luke signs for 9, we have about $5 million to go around to fill all the other holes. Luke is worth 11, Snow. With the cap going up on a long-term deal, $11 million he's definitely worth it. Don't want to pay it, and maybe it's an overpayment in the first couple of years. But if Noah Dobson got 9.5, if Luke becomes the guy that we all believe he's going to be in a couple of years from now, that's going to be a steal. But it's not team friendly. It's certainly not team friendly. Dobson did have that season, but in the end, if you polled GMs right now who they think has the brighter future, Dobson or Luke Hughes, what do you think most GMs would say? I'm thinking most would go with Luke. Robert, still remember Jack jumping up and down when Luke was picked. Quinn looked jealous. That was a great little video clip. Jack was going nuts. N712 expectation. Jake Allen goes 2 by $5 million for Philly. Wow, that would be crazy. NJ rumored by several places to go with Vladar or Vanacek. Oh my God. The VTech return would be hilarious. Phil says Salayev statistics look good. Salayev's a monster. Salayev is a monster. Salayev pained me too. Not that he's bad or anything. We could have gotten better, I think. Too early to say, but a big monster defenseman will throw the weight. I'm never mad at it. Phil should have traded that number 10 pick. I wanted to trade that pick as well. From 22, 23 on, I was like, trade the picks, win now, get known pieces. But it is what it is. We can't blame Vegas for wanting to continue to compete. No, they're trying to win. Our team should be striving to compete every year. I agree. Phil, Dobson got 9.5, but they said Columbus had more AAV for him, but he wanted to play in Montreal. Yeah, it's not surprising. Tasha, what's your opinion on, I'm having a Sig Holmgren, the Ken who hasn't played in a year? Don't know enough about him. Evan, thoughts on where Besser ends up? I'm going to pass on him as well for our club. Curious to see who looks to acquire. Yeah, I don't want him, but I don't have a prediction. I feel like a random team can come out of nowhere for him. It's another interesting one. Husky, 5 years max for Luke. We can kick him, Jack, and their busted up shoulders to the curb in 2030. That's definitely not what the team's trying to do. I think they're trying to have all three of these guys here long term. The media circus. The return of VTech would include a Stanley Cup ring. Yes, it would. Samuel, think you have to cash in on either Casey or Nemitz now? I kind of think so, too. I mean, we have so many needs up front. Is there a roster spot for all of them now? I guess in some world, if they do trade Dougie in a deal that doesn't bring back Quinn Hughes, could that open and with Kovacevic probably missing the start of next season, could that temporarily open up a space for both of them in some scenario? It could, but I do think that's also a risky business. We saw it with, Nemitz and Luke went through the growing pains in 23, 24, and you're like, damn, having two young defensemen in big roles is rolling the dice. Definitely rolling the dice. And so it does seem sensible that as they're two of our most valuable assets, it does seem sensible that one of them would be put in a deal to bring in offensive help. I mean, how would it not, right? We have a lot of pieces on D. We need some up front. It's completely reasonable to think that one of them could go in a deal. I would love to be able to have them both long-term. I just don't know how feasible that truly is. Vladar makes sense. Markey's partner in Calgary, too, will get along. And if folks recall, he really pushed him for the starters net and helped the Flames overachieve some years. Yeah, in the end, I don't think whoever's the backup goalie is going to make or break us. Like I said, I do think if Markey stays healthy, I'd love to see him get 55 starts, leaving 27 for the backup. Maybe that's, in this analytics-obsessed climate we live in, maybe Markey will be closer to the 50 starts. But I do think the defense is going to be solid enough where any competent NHL goaltender should be able to do pretty well behind this defense, and especially if they get some goal support, if this freaking offense could wake up. Tim, hey, Ace, if Yegorov wins the national title with BU next season, he will leave after his sophomore year and sign a 3-year. Will he leave and sign a 3-year entry-level deal with the Devils? There's so many variables that go into that. I can't predict that. I don't want to rush the kid. I think there's so many things that go behind that. It's definitely an interesting thing to keep an eye on, and I certainly will check him out in person probably multiple times next year playing for the Terriers. Joe Cade, Ace, do you buy the Malkin rumors? If so, is that a trade you'd make? I don't see any credible Malkin rumors anywhere. I'd be curious where you saw that. Jeff, roll with Dawson for backup. With Dawes. Roll with Nico Dawes for backup. Cap savings deserves to show what he's got. I completely agree with that. But I'm also okay with them bringing in a veteran from the outside. I just don't want to pay Jake Allen because I want that money to go to other guys. And again, if it was up to me, I would give Dawes a chance. What are they so scared of? But for whatever reason, it seems like that's not in the cards. And if Allen is not re-signed, which I have to believe he will not be, they're going to try to get a veteran, I think. I would prefer to see Dawes, but we'll see. Charlie just joined. What moves are looking probable for this offseason? Thanks, Ace. Charlie, to be realistic with you, it's probably going to be the Luke extension and some bottom six guys. I'm not expecting much whatsoever. Mark says, could Casey be transitioned to forward? I just cannot see it. You don't see that too often at this level, at this juncture of a guy's career. I just can't see it whatsoever. Devil Heaven says, let Allen go, Markey and Dawsey. That's what I would like to see. Sad Jets fan, what's up, Ace? What are your thoughts on Brad Marchand? Beast in the playoffs, but who knows how many more years he'll play. That's a win-now move. I would love Marchand, and I'd probably overpay him a little bit. But we talked about this earlier. I just can't see him wanting to leave Florida. Team built to win for a while. Great weather. No state income tax. I just can't see any world that he leaves there unless someone vastly overpays. I expect to see him sign a somewhat team-friendly deal with Florida like Bennett did. Phil, I just want to see Fitz trying his absolute hardest to make a difference. He knows his ass is in the hot seat. I don't even know if it is. I think it should be, but I don't know that it is. Evan, Ace, if we hit the jackpot and Fitz stuns us with a home run guy, let's do one of these celebrate lives with intro to video with song celebrate good times. Come on. I'm obviously going to do a live if anything big happens at any point. I'm just not holding my breath for it. Jay Snow, I don't know why Fitz had to rush the Covey deal. I think that was a good deal. I said that earlier as well. Kovacevic is making $4 million. Ball just got 5.35. I mean, it sucks that he got hurt in the way his season ended, but I'm glad he got paid. That would have been a horrible scenario if he was injured and then he missed his career payday. Like, in the end, it's not really any big sweat to the Devils. If he is injured, they could put him on LTIR. They probably won't spend the money. But I'm glad he got paid before he got injured. That would have really sucked. The kid, he wasn't set for life up until that point. That deal secured his future. And hopefully he comes back and he's a monster. Jeff says Big Mike is 3 years away. Phil says Luke will only get better. Got to lock his ass up now. I agree. Tasha, I think Dawes could do good with one more year in Utica. Our D is good enough. I think he's ready to go. Samuel says Dawes is signed on in one way. What the hell are you going to do with him? Yeah, it's like at this point, if you're not gonna trust him, then are they gonna try to trade him? I don't see the play here either. And then furthermore, aside from that whole thing, it's like what is the I guess future plans in goal? Because I do think Markey's gonna get at least one more year. This is his last year on his deal, and so as it stands right now, this would be his last year. I think he gets at least one more year, maybe two. If you get another veteran goalie, you could be starting off with a brand new tandem in the next few years, which I'm a little skittish about. I think it's time to start grooming Dawes to see what he's got and if he could potentially be a starting goalie for the Devils one day, or maybe another team in this league if he shows that ability and we could deal him. But I just feel like you have to give him that chance and get him some real NHL time and let him learn under Markey. I think it would be great. Evan says you did go down with the ship last season. Now let's reverse the offseason vibes with this upbeat song. Should this happen? Always going to believe in my squad. The gated shift, after hearing Fitz's comments postseason, I'm not sure he's not thinking bigger changes. I'm fine with bottom six depth, but thinking there might be more. I would love to see there be more, but what is it going to be? I don't think he's breaking up the core. And again, we could all be shocked. Maybe a core piece is moved this offseason. I do think he's going to run it back with them one more time. Plus maybe a piece, some substantial piece. I would love to see it, but it starts with Palat and or Dougie being moved out to even have the cap space to try to do this. Justin Smith says Quinn Hughes, please. Sad Jets fan, 8x8 for Bennett. Such a crazy steal. The Leafs are ready to give him $12 million. Is that really proven? Did he really leave that much money on the table? You can't use his LTIR unless you'd have to shed the. Oh, you're talking about the new rule? Does that go into effect next year? The LTIR loophole that they closed? It's crazy that we had 2 years to do it while the loophole was still there. Now it's closed. So unfortunate. Justin Smith says, Dawes not NHL ready, get a veteran backup. I'm not mad at it. I just don't want to pay Jake Allen because I want that money to be spent on forwards. Dawes is making league minimum. Yeah, I think he's making $8.95. Mark, it's not like Dawes is untested. He played in the NHL the past 2 seasons, did fairly well. I agree. I mean, he was a little all over the place in 23, 24. He showed signs of brilliance, in my opinion. But last year in a small sample size, with the in the small sample size of last season, behind the new and improved defense, he did pretty well. And I think he could do it again next year. Will we hear more rumors tomorrow before Tuesday, or is that tampering still? I think it's only tampering if it comes like directly from the team. There's always a chance that reporters or somebody can, leak stuff out. That's how a lot of stuff gets out into the world. It's not always from the team. And so I don't even know when the last time the league even hit somebody with proper tampering charges. It doesn't seem like it ever really happens. Samuel says, Fitz is sleeping. There's no big change coming, at least this year. I agree with that. Evan, Ace, any update timeline on thinking of when you're planning on doing the NJ Pizza Tour? There'll be something this month, or the month of July, rather. I'm working on some things. I will have some hockey-related pizza stuff going on. It's all in the works, all in due time, my friends. Like I said, not everything is, snap of the fingers. Some things take some time to work out, but I'm going to hopefully get that going in July and throughout August and in September as well. Ted says the dress code change is a mistake. I mean, do you really care about that, Ted? Why is the dress code change a mistake? I can't remotely care about that whatsoever. So Jack is going to pull up in a hoodie and pajama pants every game now. I don't give a shit what he pulls up in, as long as it's not a sling. As long as he stays healthy, I don't care what Jack Hughes wears now or ever. Ponderosa? Is that a restaurant? Justin says, bring back Sprong. I thought he played well. Again, is that moving the needle? I don't know. If that happens in conjunction with some more substantial moves, I wouldn't really care too much. But if all of the moves are kind of on that level, I will be disappointed. Ted, Panthers got a very good deal with the Sam Bennett contract. Bennett could have tested the free market to jack up his price. He chose not to. Respect. Again, he saw the value. Playing on a juggernaut with great players, got 2 cups, could possibly add some more. Florida weather, no state taxes. In my opinion, there's not much to think about. Phil, Sprong on the 4th, I wouldn't mind, but why aren't we using Hallinan? That was the guy that I thought last year was going to have a chance. And he wasn't called up until like several other guys were. Tons of guys got called up before Hallinan. I think he only got 2 games, maybe even 1 game. I thought he showed potential, and I thought he should have got a bigger look, but it seemed like every time we called a guy up, whether it was Legary or Nolan Foote, it was a couple others, everyone outside of Dowling only lasted for like a game or 2. John, what do you think we'll get out of Gritsuk and Haminaho next season? I'm not positive Haminaho is going to be on the big club. It would be a great story if he makes the team out of camp. I don't think that's a guarantee. I'm pretty sure, I'm very, very sure that Gritsuk will start the season on the big club. I think as a rookie, I mean, I don't know. If you could get 20 out of him, 40 points, I think that'd be great. I think a lot of people think this guy's going to be like some electric superstar. I don't know that I could say that I think it's going to translate like that, but for a rookie season, I would be happy in a bottom 6 role for 2020, 40 points. Samuel Dawes is more than ready. Just keep him under 25 games this year. I'm kind of on that mindset. I think he deserves a chance. And I think he could play well with that defense. Jason, last year we heard about Pesci for weeks. Yeah, but it wasn't from the team. You can't charge a team with tampering if, things are leaked out and whatever else. It's very hard to prove the origin of that. And there's a lot of stuff where I just don't see how that would be construed as tampering. Phil says Grits 50 points. Lenny won't make the roster. I mean, 50 points would be great. I think that's asking for a lot from him. Ted, Scott Chance could be a gritty Timo Meier type player in the high danger area. I mean, that'd be interesting if he makes the team as well. I think he's kind of on the outside looking in at the moment, but I think he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Jack Hughes, 40 goals this year. I'd love to see it. Phil, LeChance can earn a spot in training camp if he doesn't suck. I think he's definitely a guy that could be on the bubble for sure. Samuel says if Jack puts the puck in the net, he can walk in backwards naked. Over under 3.5 million for Cholowski. Wow. I got to see what other D-men are out there. I'll go under, but I wouldn't be surprised by anything at this point. The new cap era, guys, is crazy. Devil Heaven Nico has to stay happy with the Devils. Yeah, they got to do some things to make them be happy. Ted, with no dress code, NHL could become slouches like the other leagues. What does that even mean? Do you really care what they're wearing, Ted? I mean, there's bigger things to worry about. I don't give a shit what they wear. Mark says wearing pajama pants and a hoodie is fairly mainstream post-COVID. Tasha, I feel like Chance would be a good fourth liner. I watched the BU final and thought the other Jack Hughes was actually really noticeable. Yeah, Chance could be one of those beastly bottom six guys, smash guys along the boards and stuff. I would love to see it, but there is a big adjustment from NHL, from college to the NHL, and he might have to play in the AHL for a little bit, or potentially forever. You never know the way these things go. Jeff says brace for PTOs galore at the bottom six of training camp. Yeah, someone was talking about potentially trying to bring back Kevin LeBanc. I thought that was interesting. Someone brought that up a couple weeks ago. Phil, all right, boys, got to work tomorrow. I'll be here for the stream tomorrow. Oh, yeah, tomorrow I'm doing a stream with the Uncle Puckers. It will be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Should be interesting. Longtime Devils fans. They have a podcast. Check them out. Uncle Puckers. We'll be on here talking Devils hockey the night before free agency. Justin Smith Kincaid is a backup goalie. Just kidding. Oh, boy. Ryan, thoughts on Dougie? Will he be traded since articles keep speaking about him? My opinion, he'll start the season and evaluate. I think he stays here. I think he's here for the season. Maybe it gets looked at the deadline or next offseason, but I think he's here for next season. Ted, what happened to Santeri Hataka? I was bullish on him. It was crazy. I thought he looked good, too. I thought he was going to be a guy that we would see with all the injuries to the defense last year. And in the end, we lost him. He signed overseas. I forget where, but he signed somewhere. He's gone. Sad Jets fan, torn on the issue with Dawes. Played well last year, but worried about it if our defense takes a step back or Markey gets injured and we have to roll with the Dawes Poulter tandem for an extended stretch. You could always reevaluate. And try to bring in a veteran goalie at that point. But I get the concern. I just think for me personally, given where we're at, with the cap, we can't pay Allen. I would be okay with bringing in a veteran, but I would like to see Dawes get his chance. But if they bring in an outside veteran, I'm not mad at it. Yeah, I'm with you. Who cares about clothing? Jeff, I don't care what they wear. I would die to see Jack coming in dressed like Cam Newton. Samuel says, want to keep Nico happy, win at least 2 playoff rounds. I think that's the best way to keep guys happy. Or even better, win a cup. Jack, Hughes, Heischer, Bratt, Meyer, Cotter, Nason, those are 6 forwards I'm prepared and quite honestly prefer for all their 6 spots to be filled by guys not on last year's team. Well, Gritsuk's going to be one of those. For sure. Yeah, Gritsuk will take one. Evan, Ace, any thoughts on possibly doing a live on road games, different arenas where Devils will travel to open up forum and give suggestions from folks on those spots? Devs Nation is strong nationwide. I'm gonna need a little explanation on that, Evan. Do you mean like doing a vlog from a road game, or I don't know? Explain to me what that meant. It's late and I'm tired. My head hurts. What the hell does that mean? Travel to open up forum and give suggestions from folks on those Devils will travel to open. Mark, what's Yager up to nowadays? No joke. He could probably fit on our second line. Love me some Yager. I think this is his last season playing in the Czech League. And I do think Lamico, Jack. Yeah, I do. Earlier I said I think Lamico is definitely going to be on the opening roster. Maybe Lamico. The other prospects like Kaminau and LeChance are long shots to make the team. Completely agree. Justin, please don't re-sign Bastion. I think that one's 50-50 as well. Tasha says Fitz could always make an in-season trade if Markey got injured. Oh, wait. Jack, the team needs like five new players from last year. Good thing is most of the non-factor forwards are UFAs and will go. Palat needs to go. Yeah, Allen's looking for 5 a year. I'm not interested in paying that. Ted, Hataka went to the Swedish Elite League, so then Jake Allen is gone. Well, he's not gone yet, but essentially he should be. He's getting paid. Paid big time. Sad Jets fan, no rush to trade Dougie. If they do, they'll need to have a move for Quinn lined up, but Palat is another story. Agree. Yager's only 55. 55 years young. 55 years young. He will finally retire. Jason, no. Lamico has to be a depth piece at best. I think he's going to be in our bottom 6. I just can't see us signing him without them believing he's going to be in the bottom 6. I just can't see it. I really believe that that's their plan for him. Hopefully he shocks us all, but to me, it just seems like another one of these sort of desperation moves that's not going to amount to anything. I would love to be wrong. I certainly would love to be wrong, but it just doesn't seem like this is going to move the needle either. Brandon, if it's a serious season, Palat has to be gone. McCabe, to be frank, I'm not interested in Glass or Sprong either. Neither of them showed enough to warrant their retention. Maybe Glass were cheap, but he'll have other suitors. He's not worth chasing. People can share their thoughts on best spots to go for a Devils road game. It's not a bad idea. Palat is not that easy. It might not be that hard, though. Listen, Chris Drury for the Rangers found a team to take Trouba last year with no retention and then got rid of Kreider. Now, they both went to Anaheim. Or no, Trouba went to Anaheim. Is that where Kreider went to? Yeah. Both went to Anaheim. No retention. I mean, if you could get rid of those guys, there should be a team that would take Palat in the right deal. Mark says, I don't know if Allen can handle the workload if Markey gets hurt. He's a career backup, and he's no Scott Clemenson. Man, when Marty went down with that injury, Clemmer was a beast. Marty had that weird bicep injury or whatever in 08-09. Clemmer was good. Evan, love being with fellow Devs fans, diehard supporting this team every night and everywhere. Tasha, a lot of teams need playoff experience. Palat gives that. He does, but is someone going to be willing to pay that $6 million for it? Hopefully they do. Jack, I don't think Palat will be impossible to move. They'll probably need to be sent to pick 2. Should be able to dump him without retention. That's my thoughts. Do it. Anaheim has tons of cap space, and who knows? They might take some swings at some big guys too. Said Jets fan Pat Verbeek loves to bail the Rangers out of shitty contracts. We need to find a team that can do that for us. Would be nice. It would be nice. Can someone do us that favor? It's possible. I definitely think it's possible. You got to make it happen, Fitz. And then that money's going to go to Jake Allen. That's what's going to happen. Everyone, I'm so curious what will happen if we somehow move from Palat and then that money goes to Jake Allen. I think most people will probably be furious, but I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Like the Palat money goes to Jake Allen. I wouldn't be happy. I really think that money should, if it is in fact freed up, should go towards the most impactful forward that we could get our hands on. But that could be a pipe dream, guys. Palat to Anaheim, please. Don't even say Fitz would give it to Allen if we pay Jake. All right, so this is what I'm curious, guys. Listen, and it's no disrespect to Jake Allen. I like Jake Allen. I think he brought a lot to the team last year. I still think he has some gas in the tank, and he could be valuable to a team. But when I saw, I think last year, I think I was predicting or a few months ago, I was saying before the cap stuff came out that I thought he was going to get offered like $3.5 million. Around $3.5 million. Now with the cap jumping up and all the money just flowing, these $5 million reports made it the easiest walk away from guy for me ever. But I'm curious for the people saying this, like, what is the most you would want to pay Jake Allen? Like, let's just pretend that he's going to sign a super team. Like, I personally would not want to pay him much at all, but like, I'm curious, like Jeff even, right? If you said, if we pay Jake 5, I'm going to flip. What would your price be to bring him back, Jeff? Like if he said, I'll take X amount, would you give him the money? Jason knows that bug out. Mark, I see what you're saying about Drury moving Kreider and Trouba, but the NHL participates in revenue sharing. The Rangers are a cash cow, so when they do well, the league does well. I mean, are you inferring like that there's a conspiracy theory and the fix is in for the Rangers? I mean, that's... Jason says, I'm actually scared he might pay Allen now. I mean, I am too. Trade Hamilton for Quinn Hughes. I think Dougie would be part of a deal if there was one, but it'd be Dougie Hamilton plus. A lot more than just Dougie. Jack says Hughes, Bratt, Heischer, Meyer, Gritzuk, Cotter, Nason. Nason can swap in and out of the third line. If you were looking of a goalie, who would you look at? I mean, anyone who could fill in admirably, but I would give it to Dawes. I mean, I think he could be decent, and I think the experience is valuable for the future. At some point, we don't want to be stuck in the spot again where it's like we have to go from one tandem to a whole new tandem in the next season. I would like a young guy to be groomed, and if it's not Dawes now, then when for Dawes? Apparently, at the draft, there was a deal in place with Palat and Mercer for a late third and a future third. NJ said no. That'd be a terrible trade. Mercer has value for a third-round pick. Absolutely not. Mercer's not a guy that you're just trying to dump his salary. Mercer is a very good player for $4 million. Tasha says, if we paid Jake Allen that much money, I'd be so angry. Brandon, I'm going to be honest. Do we make the playoffs last season without Allen? I said this earlier. No. We don't make it without Allen or Markey. But are you going to pay a lot of money for him as an insurance policy? Someone will give Allen almost $6 million. It's even crazier. Jeff says, I wouldn't personally. I think we need to see what Dawes has. That's where I'm at. Justin, Allen played well last year. Was the best backup goalie the Devils have had since Hedberg. Jay Snow says $1.52 million for Allen, probably $2.5 million at most. Like, I could live with that. I'd be closer to $2 million, but that is so far out of the range of what he's going to get that's a pipe dream. So what are we even talking about? Let's just say $5 million is what he's going to get offered. Even if he's offered to sign with the Devils, I'll sign for $4 million for 2 years. It's the easiest. I'm not interested whatsoever for me. Spend that money on a forward or forwards. Of course, I like Jersey tomatoes. Tasha, max for Allen, $2 million maybe because it's not that big of a need. I agree. I would. It is a calculated risk, but it's a calculated gamble that I would make. I do think spending up front will help this team more than spending on a backup goalie. Samuel says paying Allen should be the shit. No. Jeff, but if Fitz is bringing Allen back, then 3.5 would be my max, which I think isn't the best usage of money, but I'd understand. Yeah, I don't even think he'd sign for that. With these reports of the $5 million floating around, like he's not going to give up that much money. Ted said Edmonton needs goalies. Maybe they go after Allen. Yeah, I think Edmonton and plenty of other teams will as well. Samuel, would Dawes been as good of Allen if given the chance? I think so. So listen, I'm going to be optimistic in that scenario and say I am personally, for me, I am putting a lot of stock in the defense. I do think the defense is that much better than it was in 23-24. I think Dawes can be close to that level behind this defense. I really do. And I don't think it's delusional. I think you have to give him a chance. And if you're not going to give it to him now, when are you going to give it to him? Let me pull this up. But I understand the people that are hesitant because it is a gamble. It is somewhat of a gamble because in the horrific event that Markey does go down, could Nico Dawes then be thrust into the main spot and kind of shit the bed? It could happen. I personally, like I said, I'm willing to take the risk because I do believe in the defense, and I think it'll serve him well enough to not completely tank. But we look at the stats. For Nico Dawes, last season he played in 6 games, was 3-1 with a 1.6 and a 9.39. Again, obviously a super small sample size. I'm not going to say this guy's the greatest, the next greatest goalie of all time or anything like that. And then you look at his career numbers, obviously not insanely good, but given where the defense was for a lot of that 23-24 season, 52 games played, 22 wins, 298 and 898. But you look at last year, 1.6 and 9.39 behind the current defense. Again, super small sample size. I'm not going to put too much stock into it, but to not at least consider that, you have to at least give that some consideration. And that is a testament to the defense for sure. Can he replicate those numbers over a larger sample size? No, because those are insanely good numbers. But do I think he would have good numbers and good enough to keep the Devils in games and win games? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I take the chance and hope that Markey never gets hurt, obviously. Ryan says, let Allen walk and work on the bottom roster. Jay Snow, agree. It's Dawes' time to take the backup role. Jay Snow still have a stud 1A. Traveling Devil, there's no reason the Devils need to look elsewhere for a backup. Yeah, for whatever reason, it seems like they don't trust him and they want a veteran. It seems like Fitz really likes his veterans. I mean, we saw it at several spots. He went out and got Dumoulin, which was a little bit surprising to me at the time. When he obtained Jake Allen, he wanted Jake Allen to be a veteran backup, obviously. He likes vets. I get it to some extent, but at some point you have to look at the money, make the hard decisions. And I think, groom a young goaltender to be potentially the next guy, or at least a full-time NHL goalie in a backup role. And if not now, when will it be for him? Maybe he has no future here if this season's not going to be for him. Brandon says, at this point, it doesn't matter about our goaltending when we cannot score a goal. I completely agree. Like, the most pressing needs have to be taken care of first. Samuel says, Dawes could be your A1 after Markey. If not, he'll be your A2. Well, if he's not going to play this year, I'm thinking that it's, his any sort of future with the Devils could be in serious jeopardy. I just don't know what the plan for him is, if not for this year. Life is a gamble. Ryan says, got to let Dawes grow, but Markey's toward the end of his career. Sometimes you got to take a risk with a small sample size, but plenty of teams do it. Yeah. Joshua, you look super. It's the summer, baby. I'm outside doing outdoor things. Jay Snow, I feel like this is the deadline all over again. I'm excited free agency just to be let down. Well, manage your expectations. I mean, going into this, I will say I had I don't know that I had grand expectations for the deadline, but I certainly had expectations well above and beyond Cody Glass and Daniel Sprong, with no disrespect to them. But with the season, or at least the potential we had showed earlier in the season and being firmly in a playoff spot, I certainly was hoping for way more than that. But given the cap space and where we are heading into this free agency, I do not have too much. I don't have too many expectations outside of what I've said from the beginning, from months ago. Luke extension, some bottom six patchwork, and that's going to be it. Now, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see something more substantial happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I won't be let down because I'm going into this not expecting much. Sad Jets fan, hate to disrupt the goalie talk, but what do you think about the new ECHL team coming to Trenton? It's going to be the affiliate of the Mammoth, right? I mean, it doesn't really move the needle for me one way or the other. Outside of maybe if I want to go see the Adirondack Thunder, the Devils ECHL affiliate, play a game. Trenton's much closer than Adirondack. Good night, Tasha. Traveling now is the best time for Dawes for the backup role. Let Markstrom mentor him for the next year or two. Seems sensible to me, but Ted, who is our next Brodeur? There is no next Brodeur. I don't know why everyone always has to, to try to find the next and then say an all-time great is psychotic. Let's just say, who is our next franchise goalie? Let's not say Brodeur. There'll never be another. Our next franchise goalie is going to be Big Mike Yegorov. Book it. Book it. Mark says Skinner and Pickard backstopped Edmonton to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're horrible. Let Dawes play. But then they felt, they didn't get it done in the finals. And so what do we, they got them there, or the Oilers got there despite them, but they couldn't get it done. Yeah, Oilers got there because they're scoring. Nancy, if Fitz improves the team, it'll be through the trade market, not free agents. There's not many players that really catch the eye. I agree as well, and the contract thing is a big part of it. Free agents are going to get paid crazy. Go find a guy you could trade for that has years left on his deal at a good cap hit. That's a good value. Kyrou is at the top of my list. 6 more years, $8.125 million cap hit for the next 6 years. That's an amazing value. An amazing value. Bruins just re-signed Geeky, 6 years, 5.5. Yeah, guys are getting paid. Samuel says, when we didn't get Cousins last trade deadline, I gave up on the season. How about the other move Ottawa made? Zetterlund. Would have loved him back, and he's signed there. He's going to be with the Senators for I think 3 or 4 years. He got a decent little paycheck over there. Doug, what's up, Ace? Been a little while. How goes it? It's going, Doug. It's going. Off-season chatter. Khalil, I'm scared who's going to be the Devils' backup goalie because the Devils are not ready to find a backup goalie. I mean, they could bring someone in. Or it could be Dawes. Or they could trade Palat and use that money to pay Allen. Oh, I hope not. I feel like, oh, man, I feel like it could happen. Justin, Devils need more than Jack and Nico scoring goals. Yeah, obviously. Preferably, top 6 guy would be great. Bottom 6 guys that could produce would be great as well. But we obviously need offense, and that is why I am firmly against paying Jake Allen. And I like Jake Allen. He did great. I like him. I really do. But given where they are with the cap, paying him anywhere near that kind of money would be crazy because that money could be used to get an impactful forward. So I just don't see the logic there. Yes, I understand it's a gamble to not bring him back, but to me, it's a bigger gamble to not improve the forwards as much as you can. And doing a couple plug-and-play bottom 6 patchwork renovation, to me, is not doing enough to improve the scoring. We need scoring. We need scoring more so than we need a backup goalie. I just don't know. I just fear that the team's putting a lot of stock in if we were healthy, it would have been fine. But we were having difficulty scoring even before the injuries. And so if you're being realistic, the offense needs a lot of help. A lot of help. Drew took a sweetheart deal for Ottawa. Ottawa could be dangerous next year. Man, he signed 1 year. Oh, no, but all these old guys are doing these bonus things. So he signed a very similar deal to Jonathan Taves. Base salary with 2 with bonuses that could get him up to almost $5 million, 4.75. These bonus-laden contracts. Devils got screwed bad on the McLeod situation. Yeah, obviously. One of the better bottom 6 players in the league. Massive loss. We lost him for nothing. It is what it is. What are you going to do? Jay Snow, our 5 versus 5 offense was horrible last year. Yeah, it was. If they use the money to pay Allen, we have last season all over again. I fear that you could be right. I hope you're wrong, but if they do pay Allen anywhere near that money, I will be pretty pissed. Doug, Fitz has to do everything he can to get a winning group for Nico and Markey. We have 2 years where we can clearly be the team to compete with the Panthers in the East if we can finally get past the Canes. You would think the next 2 years are going to be 2 of our best cracks at it, right? Win now. Win now and maneuver like a win now team. That's what you need to do. Maneuver like a win now team. Make some of those difficult decisions and push, maybe not all your chips, but push a lot of your chips in the middle and really try to win a cup or at least push closer towards it. Brandon says, as much as I love Timo, I'm really hoping he plays harder this year. I mean, I have no complaints about Timo. I love Timo. One of our only bullish forwards. Hopefully he could turn it up a little bit before the March of Meyer. We've seen the past 2 years. He turns it up the March of Meyer when he gets cooking. But if he could heat up a little bit earlier. But again, last season, not to make excuses, but last season he was on the left wing instead of the right wing where he belongs and not on power play 1 for 75% of the season. You guys have to realize for a guy like that, not playing power play 1, he was generating a lot of his points in San Jose on the power play on the right side. And it took multiple injuries for him to go to the right side and get power play 1 time. If he starts on the right side and on power play 1 all of next season, I think you're going to see bigger point totals from him. And obviously everything else he brings, smashing guys, getting under their skin, just being an agitator. Would love to see him come out of the gate hot next year. And hopefully being on the right side, power play 1, he could do that. Ryan, Devils need a real gritty, hard-hitting forward that can skate with a scoring touch, a guy who can give his line some room. Completely agree. I would have taken a chance on Taves, put out a video about it. Winner, leader. Anytime you could get a guy like that, first ballot Hall of Famer, I would have tried. The Devils were in on him. I didn't think we ever had a chance, but it was somewhat encouraging that we at least inquired and tried. Jason, Drew was predicted at like $5 million. And essentially, if he hits all his bonuses, he will be at $5 million. Khalil Nico not getting younger. Fitz has to make tough decisions. Justin Bratt and Timo need to step it up this year. Everyone needs to step it up. Every single player needs to raise their game if we're going to do anything. Doug, Timo shouldn't have to change his game to compensate for a weak top six and overall lack of team offensive production. Ideally, him and Nico have a line mate that can bury the puck. Would be nice. Yep, Timo needs to be at right wing for the entire season. Completely agree. And on power play 1. Timo was money when Keith put him at right wing. Brad has been stepping it up every year he's been with the Devils. Literally, yeah. Our best offensive player over the past 4 seasons. Consistent, point per game guy. Broke the single season assist record last year, a 30-year-old record held by Scott Stevens. Bradder's a beast. Hopefully he could elevate his game a little bit in the playoffs. That's been a constant knock on him by some people. And while it's not a huge sample size, he hasn't been able to produce at the same level in the playoffs as he has in the regular season. Patrick Kane's going to stay in Detroit. Any former legends that could teach these guys something and show them how to win and hopefully produce points, I would love Patrick Kane. American legend, one of the best American-born players in league history. All accounts seem like he's returning to Detroit next year. And last year he had 59 points in 72 games at 36 years old. He's turning 37 in November. We have no chance on him, but I would certainly be interested, but it's just not going to happen. I wanted Marchment, especially for the return. Yeah, that seemed like a no-brainer for a lot of teams. But again, we need cap space to pay him with all the other needs. Ryan, we need to do something for Nico. Feel bad for him, plus his contract is nearing the end. I've been talking about this for a while. Hopefully he believes that this team is serious about winning. That's all you could hope for. If the projected lines is Timo and left wing, I'm calling the season. What a joke. Let's just keep doing the same thing over. That's not working. Hopefully he starts at the right, on the right side. Sweet jersey tank top. Thanks. Happy Sunday. Talk soon. Take care. Mark, Brad is also physical. I remind everyone of crunching a Hawks player to set up Jack for a goal. So listen, I'll never say that he's physical, but he's not super soft. There's a difference. Bradder was one of the only guys, I think, last year with 80 points and 80 hits. But, like, if you're really looking at 80 hits, that's 1 hit per game. Like, are we really going to celebrate that? But I will say he is much harder to knock off the puck than people give him credit for. I do think he takes his offseason workouts pretty seriously. Strong lower body. He's definitely not skipping leg day, doing his squats, strong core, and is a little bull and hard to knock off the puck. And once in a while, we'll see some feistiness from him. And that was my favorite shift of last year when he ran the Hawks guy, and smashed him into the glass, ran him down, set up the play, Pesci to Jack streaking down the middle for the goal. That was the shift of the year. But, I'm not counting on him to be some physical specimen. Samuel wasn't teaching them to Palat's job. There's a difference between a guy, and no disrespect to Palat, but you cannot talk about a guy like Palat in the same breath as you can with a Patrick Kane or a Jonathan Toews. It is just a world of difference. Palat, yes, had that experience, was on some great teams in Tampa and had some decent runs with the Lightning to win those cups, but there's just no comparison for a guy like that to a guy like Jonathan Toews or Patrick Kane. Just absolute legends, first ballot Hall of Famers. There is a difference, and I do think their demeanor, the command they respect from players on and off the ice, and the respect they get around the league, it's very different. Very, very different. Justin says Nico is a devil for life. I hope you're right, but I have my concerns. Jason knows the size matters. Look how hard it is to take a puck off Barkov. Yeah, I forget what game it was. In the Cup Finals, he had a defender draped all over him behind the net, and he made that insane assist for a big goal. Beast. Size matters. Training matters. It all matters. Khalil says, I'm scared, Timo, because if he keeps this not scoring, that's ridiculous. They're not trading Timo. He's the only guy in our top 6 that brings those elements that he brings. Jason, no, best shift I've seen all year was Sam Bennett dummy 2 players and scores a breakaway goal in a Cup final. That was phenomenal. That was an insane, just a beautiful show of physical dominance, talent, all wrapped in one. It was beautiful. Traveling Devil, Brad had a few board battle wins that led to important goals. Yeah, he's feister than people give him credit for sure. He's got a little dog in him. Sad Jets fan, wish Jack played like Brat. He'd never get injured. They're roughly the same height, but Brad is much more durable. Send Jack to Sweden to work with Brad's trainer. I would love to see it. But Bradder I think lower body, especially, there's probably like, I would imagine Brat in a weight room with lower body type, leg presses, squats, whatever, would probably be able to outperform Jack by a wide margin. Chico, I don't want Taves or Kane, even if they could still play, not after the Kyle Beach fiasco. Quoting several players on the team, everyone knew, and they took part in mocking him for, oh, dude. You're talking. I don't care about any of this stuff, Chico. I'm sorry. If it's insensitive, then my apologies. Any of this off-ice stuff, I am so over dragging people over the coals and canceling people and all this crap. Listen, any of this types of stuff that happens, it's all unfortunate. For me, outside of something completely heinous, I don't care about any of it. I want the best players, period. Nobody's perfect. Humans are not perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes bad decisions. If you knew every single thing about every player that ever happened, you would not want anyone on the team. Everybody's done terrible things, I'm sure, at some point in their life. If we're going to point and say, this guy did this guy did that, oh, it's just all just ridiculous. I'm over all the stuff. I don't know the details and the specifics on this. And quite frankly, I don't really care. If they weren't brought to court or they weren't found guilty of something, even if it's moral, whatever stuff, like, it is what it is. I am personally, I just don't care. I want the best players there are, period. And if we knew everything about every single person, there'd be a lot of people being dragged through the mud constantly. Doug, the problem with going to free agency for your top six is you're going to overpay heavily. I said this. That's why trades are better. I'd want Brock Besser. He'd be good with Timo Nico. He's going to cost $9.5 million per year. That's too much. If it were up to me, they'd still be banned from the NHL and their names would be scratched. Oh, my God, Chico. Yeah, scratch their name off the cut because of some hearsay stuff that you're referring to. I'm sure none of it's probably proven. It's probably all just hearsay. But I don't care enough about this. But scratching people's names off the cup is ridiculous. Jeff, low-key, Dougie has not been the same since his torn pec. His shot isn't as deadly. With Luke emerging, needing money, it's a matter of time, like Ace mentioned. Yeah, hopefully, maybe the pec was still lingering. Maybe the pec is was still lingering last season, and maybe he's fully healthy this year. Maybe he returns closer to the 70-point guy we saw a couple of years ago. That'd be phenomenal. Brandon, I know the Devils are serious and they win 4 in a row. They haven't done it in over 2 calendar years. By the time next season starts, we'll be knocking on 3. I think it was January of 23. And so you're talking about, a few months. They better win 4 in a row. It'd be nice to start the season with that. Jack needs to live in the gym this offseason. Brad is built way different than Jack, for sure. I don't know if Jack's really chucking weights like he needs to. Mark, a few post-game interviews of Brad showed how built he was. Dude has a neck like an 89 pro wrestler. No, he's for a guy his size, he's fairly solid, and it shows. It shows in the games. Oh, Chico, let it go, man. With the whole Blackhawks thing, come on. Kane with Jack would be sick. Only can dream. Kane did a video with Jack and Luke. I saw clips. Jack was talking about an overtime goal where he kind of burned Kane. Kane was back trying to play defense. Not a great effort of it, but what is Demko going to cost? I mean, none of these guys are going to be cheap. If Mercer's still the Devils and he's on the third line, he's going to be a 30-point player again, and I don't want to hear this fan base again. I don't think so. I think he could be closer to a 50-point guy. I just think that the people that were expecting him to be some 60, 70-point guy, like your expectations were just unrealistic. I do like him a lot. I don't want to trade him for the sake of trading him. I will gladly trade anyone in a deal that makes the team better. And so if someone said Mercer's going to be packaged up with some other pieces to get Tuck, I'm all for it. But I'm not like Mercer's a problem and we need to trade him. That's not the case at all. If there's a deal to be made to improve the team, then do it. But don't just trade him for the sake of trading him. I think that'd be ridiculous. I've defended Mercer all year. I mean, there's not too many guys that we have that you could throw out there in any scenario and trust them. Jack looks like he weighs 100 pounds. Chico, Mercer was 2 bounces away from a third consecutive 20-goal season. Yeah, 20-goal guys don't grow on trees, for sure. Jason, no, I'm not saying Jack's going to be a physical guy, but he's got to get stronger on his skates and on pucks. Yeah, of course. But that's been kind of the same old story for a while. I'm hoping we eventually see it. Chico says you're beyond delusional if you think he's a problem. I agree with that. Jack looks frail in the Howard promos. Doug, I don't see the point in trading Mercer when we have injury issues and he never gets hurt. Iron Man. Absolute Iron Man, Dawson Mercer. I'm curious. Let me see where his 4 straight seasons of all 82, 328 game Iron Man streak. I want to see what the current streaks in the league is. Wow, Brent Burns just had a 925 game streak end from November of 13 to April 17th, 2025. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Why do they have the end date? It didn't end then. That was just the most recent. Oh, so these are active. This list is stupid. Okay, so Burns has a 925 game streak right now. My God. Suzuki has 455. Ryan Suter, 535. DeBrincat, 374. Yeah, Mercer's is the 6th longest in the league right now. Charlie Coyle, 1 ahead of him. 329. Wow. It's pretty impressive. Dawson Mercer was a rounding error away from being a half a point per game. He's a useful guy who can play in every situation. I'm not going to sit here and put him on my untouchable list or anything. I'm with you. Useful player. I'm tired of arguing with people who refuse to accept that it's okay that he's not Matthew Nyes. Well put. Wish Mercer was a big guy. Yeah, well, if he did all those things and was like 4 inches taller and 30 pounds heavier, that'd be nice. But, you know, maybe you try to package him for Tuck. Can't blow a 3-0 lead in a playoff game and not make changes. That was such a demoralizing way to lose. When I look back, it really is disgusting. Like that we had that lead and to just completely melt. To completely melt and choke it away. Man, Game 6 at the Rock would have been electric. Ryan H. Devil's health has to be better this upcoming season. It's got me nervous. It's been bad, frustrating since Fitz never believed in LTIR and it's gone. I know. The 2 years we could have did it while the loophole was there, we didn't do it. Mark, Ace, people forget that those Devils teams of the mid-2000s were only filled with 20-goal guys. The 2003 Stanley Cup New Jersey Devils did not have a single 30-goal scorer. Completely insane. Not a single 30-goal scorer. Had a few 20-goal scorers. Not a single 30. And yeah, you could go far with a bunch of 20-goal scorers. Obviously, you'd like 30 and 40-goal scorers, but yeah, that season we had 3. That's crazy. Only 3 20-goal scorers. Patty Eliash, 28. Jeff Friesen, 23. Jamie Langenbrenner with 22. And then John Madden had 19. Neuendijk with 17. And it goes down from there. But wow, what a team. Snow says Mercer does go to the front of the net. Problem is he's easy to move. That's the problem, is that he plays feisty, but with his size, you could only do so much. Like, he does get tossed around a lot because it is what it is. Like, it's hard to win every one-on-one battle when there's bigger and stronger guys than you. It's just physics. Oh, Brandon, you're being way too hard on Mercer, man. Seriously. Jason, no, that's hockey. We saw the Panthers blow a 3-goal lead in the finals. For sure, 3-0 back in the day would have been over. With the old school Devils and Marty, for sure. With that defense and Marty and that 3-0, you're never coming back. 2-0 was almost a kiss of death for other teams. But, you know, the Panthers didn't do it in an elimination game. They didn't blow that lead. We were fighting for our lives. And we silenced the crowd on the road, took them out of it, and then to choke like that, terrible. All right, guys, that's it. I've been on here forever. I had shit to do tonight that I'm not going to get done. Damn, it's late. Thank you all for joining.
we will have some answers about this offseason's direction in a couple days. The waiting continues, but let me see what I got here on the way out. Whoa. If you have not seen it yet, check out the Randy McKay interview, especially for you old timers. Randy McKay, what a legend. Had a great conversation with him. I just dropped that in the chat. I will be doing a live tomorrow. Let me just double check the time. Yes, tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern. We'll be doing a night before the free agency frenzy that we're not really sure how much the Devils will or will not be involved, but free agent frenzy night before with the Uncle Puckers tomorrow at 6:30. Yeah, the Mercer hate is crazy. I just don't understand it. Yeah, 6:30 tomorrow. Mark says, as it stands right now, I just hope there's better food at the Rock. Yeah, I think we all do, but it is what it is. But thank you all for joining. I will be back tomorrow. Have some cool stuff in the works that I'm working on. You'll see a lot of you asked about that food stuff. I have some interesting things planned with that, some New Jersey pizza type things. And we all hope this team finds a way to improve in the coming days. But I'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 with the Uncle Puckers. Be sure to check that out. Hit the thumbs up for your boy on the way out. I'd appreciate that. Hit that thumbs up. And we will be back tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night or what's left of it. And that's it. That's it. Thanks for joining. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.